My dad's between jobs. My son Marcus mumbled at career day, his voice barely reaching the third row where I sat, invisible among the other parents. The Thomas Whitfield, who once commanded boardrooms and closed billion-dollar deals, was now just another face in the crowd. Exactly how my ex-wife and her new husband wanted it. But as Principal Morrison leaned into the microphone with a knowing smile, I realized some secrets are too big to stay buried, even when your own son has been taught to be ashamed of you. The gymnasium was packed with 11-year-olds and their career day presenters, doctors, lawyers, tech executives, all in their pressed suits and practiced smiles. I sat in my faded jeans and the last designer shirt that still fit properly, watching Marcus shrink smaller with each successful parent's presentation. His stepfather, Richard Hazen, had just finished a flashy talk about real estate development, complete with a PowerPoint showing his waterfront properties. Next up, we have Marcus Whitfield. Mrs. Chen announced. Marcus, would you like to tell us about your parents' careers? Marcus walked to the front like he was heading to his execution. His eyes darted to where his mother sat in the front row, her perfect highlights catching the light, Richard's arm draped possessively over her shoulder. Then his gaze found me in the back, and something in his face crumbled. My mom works in fashion marketing, he started, his voice stronger when talking about her. She runs campaigns for luxury brands. And my stepdad. He gestured to Richard, who preened. He develops shopping centers and hotels. And your father? Mrs. Chen prompted gently. The silence stretched. I could feel every eye in the room waiting. My ex-wife, Serena, turned slightly, shooting me a look that said, "Don't you dare make a scene." As if I was the one who'd spent 3 years telling our son that his father was a failure who couldn't hold down a job. My dad's between jobs, Marcus finally said, the words falling like stones in still water. He's been looking for work. A few parents shifted uncomfortably. Someone's mother whispered to another. I saw Richard's satisfied smirk, the same one he'd worn when the judge granted him permission to have Marcus call him Dad at home. The same one from when he convinced Serena that my instability meant I should only get weekend visits. Principal Morrison stood up from her chair on the stage, her movement drawing attention. She was a small woman, but something in her bearing commanded the room. Actually, she said, walking to the microphone, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The whispering stopped. Marcus looked confused, frozen at the podium. Mr. Whitfield, Principal Morrison said, looking directly at me, would you mind standing up? 200 heads swiveled to the back row. I stood slowly, my heart hammering but my face calm. This wasn't how I planned any of this. Parents and students, the principal continued, her voice carrying clearly, I need to share something. This morning, our school received the largest single donation in its 75-year history. $40 million for a new science wing, complete with state-of-the-art laboratories, a planetarium, and a greenhouse for our environmental studies program. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Serena's perfectly lined lips parted in shock. The donor requested anonymity. Principal Morrison said, but given the circumstances, and with his permission. She looked at me questioningly. I gave the slightest nod. The donation came from Mr. Thomas Whitfield, Marcus's father. The gymnasium erupted. The $40 million wing. A parent near me gasped. That's more than the school's entire endowment. Marcus stood at the podium, his mouth open, eyes wide. Dad, he said into the microphone, his voice cracking. You donated $40 million. I walked down the center aisle, every eye tracking my movement. Serena had gone pale under her spray tan. Richard's smirk had vanished, replaced by something that looked like he'd swallowed a wasp. Surprise, buddy, I said softly as I reached the front, winking at my son. I've been between jobs because I sold my company 6 months ago. Turns out the artificial intelligence platform I spent 10 years building was worth quite a bit. Quite a bit? Principal Morrison interjected with a laugh. Parents, Mr. Whitfield's company, Neuralink Solutions, sold to Microsoft for $2.3 billion. It was all over the financial news, though he used his company name, not his personal one. The room exploded again. Phones came out, fingers flying across screens, looking at the sale. The whispers turned to excited chatter. But Mom said, Marcus started, then stopped, his face flushing red. She said you couldn't even pay child support on time. That you were living in some tiny apartment because you couldn't afford better. I kept my voice gentle, aware of our audience but focused only on my son. The apartment is temporary, while my new house is being built. As for child support, your mom asked me to pay her directly instead of through the court. I have every receipt. Serena stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. This is highly inappropriate, she said, her marketing voice trying to take control of the narrative. We shouldn't be discussing private family matters. You're right, I agreed calmly. Which is why I never mentioned it. But when my son stands up and tells his class he's ashamed of his unemployed father, when I've built something that will revolutionize how we interact with technology, well, that seems like a good time for the truth. Dad, Marcus said, his voice small. You really sold the company for billions, but you never said anything. You never. His voice trailed off, and I could see him piecing together 3 years of contradictions. The weekend visits where I lived simply but never complained about money. The times I'd offered to pay for his activities only to have his mother insist Richard would handle it. The coding lessons I'd given him on my old laptop that he now realized was cutting-edge tech. I didn't build my company to brag about it, I said. I built it because I believed in the technology. The money was just a byproduct. But you know what matters more than any of that? He shook his head, tears starting to form in his eyes. You matter more, I said. You've always mattered more. Every line of code I wrote, every late night, every breakthrough. It was all so I could build something that would make your future better. The science wing isn't about showing off. It's about making sure you and every kid in this school has access to the tools that will shape tomorrow. The dedication ceremony is next month. Principal Morrison added. We were hoping Marcus might cut the ribbon, since the wing will be named the Marcus Whitfield Center for Scientific Innovation. That did it. Marcus launched himself at me, wrapping his arms around my waist and sobbing. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. Mom said. Richard said. But you were always there, weren't you? Every weekend you were there. I held my son, feeling 3 years of forced distance collapse. Over his head, I saw Serena's face cycle through emotions, shock, anger, calculation, and finally, something that might have been regret. Richard, meanwhile, looked like someone had revealed his entire real estate empire was built on sand. Which, even what I knew about his leveraged deals and the coming market correction, wasn't far from the truth. But that was karma for another day. Mr. Whitfield, a parent called out, are you the same Thomas Whitfield who just partnered with the Gates Foundation on global education initiatives? Before I could answer, another voice. My company tried to license your predictive algorithm technology. We couldn't even get a meeting. The questions came faster now, and I realized something had shifted. The invisible dad in the back row had become the center of gravity in the room. But more importantly, Marcus was looking at me with something I hadn't seen in 3 years. Pride. Perhaps, Principal Morrison suggested, Mr. Whitfield would be willing to give an impromptu presentation. I know our students would love to hear about building a technology company from scratch. I looked down at Marcus, who nodded eagerly. Would you help me? I asked him. You know more about the technical side than most people realize. All those coding sessions weren't just for fun. His face lit up. Really? But I'm just learning. The best learners make the best teachers, I said, guiding him back to the podium. Besides, you helped me debug the neural network problem last month, remember? That was for your billion-dollar company. His voice squeaked. I helped with actual AI code. As we set up for an impromptu presentation, I caught Serena trying to slip out with Richard. "Serena," I called out, my voice carrying just enough to make her stop. "You'll want to check your email. My lawyer sent over a revision to the custody arrangement. Given that I'm no longer unemployed and unstable, we'll need to revisit Marcus's living situation." She turned, her perfectly composed face cracking. "You can't just." "I can," I said simply. "And I will. Marcus deserves to know his father, not the fictional failure you and Richard invented. But we can discuss that later. Right now, I have a presentation to give with my son." As I turned back to Marcus, I heard Richard hiss to Serena, "You told me he was nobody, a failed programmer living off his parents." "I thought he was," she hissed back. "But I was done caring what they thought." Marcus was pulling up the presentation software, his earlier shame transformed into excitement. "Dad, can we show them the prototype? The one that responds to thoughts?" "That's still in beta," I laughed. "But sure, why not? Just remember, we can't reveal everything. Some secrets are worth keeping until the right moment." He grinned, and for the first time in 3 years, I saw myself in his smile. Not the defeated man Serena had painted me as, not the absent father Richard tried to replace, but the real me, the one who'd never stopped fighting for this moment. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced, his voice strong now, "proud, my dad is Thomas Whitfield, founder of Neuralink Solutions, and he's about to show you the future." As I began to speak, sharing the journey from a garage startup to a multi-billion-dollar exit, I noticed something beautiful. Marcus stood beside me, adding details, explaining concepts he'd learned during our weekends together. Every now and then, he'd look up at me with such pure admiration that it made every lonely night, every missed holiday because of the custody arrangement, every moment of forced silence worth it. The presentation went on for 30 minutes, with engaged questions from students and parents alike. By the end, Marcus was fielding technical questions with confidence, and I realized that while I'd built an ad company, the greatest thing I'd ever programmed was the curiosity and resilience in my son. As the applause died down, Marcus grabbed the microphone one last time. "I want to say something," he announced. "My dad's not between jobs. He's between victories, and I'm proud to be his son." The gymnasium erupted in applause again. In the back, I saw Serena and Richard having what appeared to be a heated discussion. Several parents were approaching her, no doubt with questions about how she'd hidden my success from the school community. Principal Morrison thanked everyone and began dismissing the assembly. Parents surrounded me with business cards and partnership proposals, but I only had eyes for Marcus. "Dad," he said quietly, as the crowd pressed around us, "why didn't you tell anyone? Why let Mom say those things?" I knelt down to his level, speaking just for him. "Because fighting with your mother would have hurt you. I knew the truth would come out eventually. Success speaks louder than arguments, and patience beats anger every time. Remember that." He nodded solemnly, then brightened. "Can I see the new house? The one being built?" "This weekend," I promised. "It has a coding lab just for you. And Marcus? It's not my house. It's our house. Your room is already designed. I used your sketches from last year, the ones with the rocket ship ceiling." His eyes widened. "You kept those?" "I kept everything," I said. "Every drawing, every report card, every little moment." Being between jobs just meant I had more time to plan our future. As we finally made our way out of the gymnasium, Principal Morrison stopped us. "Mr. Whitfield, the board would love to discuss further partnerships. Your vision for education technology aligns perfectly with our goals." "Have your people call my people," Marcus piped up, then blushed. I laughed, ruffling his hair. "He's got it right. My assistant will set something up. But first, I think my son and I need to have a long overdue conversation about what comes next." We walked out together, past the clusters of amazed parents, past Serena and Richard's hushed argument, past the weight of 3 years of lies. In the parking lot, Marcus stopped at my Tesla, the one his mother had called a waste of money for someone who can't pay rent on time. "Dad," he said quietly, "I love you. And I'm sorry I believed. I'm sorry." "Never apologize for trusting your mother," I said. "That's what sons do. But now you know the truth, and that's what matters." As we drove away, I caught a glimpse in the rearview mirror of Serena standing in the parking lot, her phone pressed to her ear, probably calling her lawyer. Richard was nowhere to be seen, had likely slunk off to figure out how to spin this to his advantage. But none of that mattered anymore. Marcus was asking rapid-fire questions about the company, the technology, the future. His shame had transformed into pride, his distance into closeness. The career day that began with him mumbling about his unemployed father had ended with him standing tall beside the man he now knew I really was. "Hey, Dad," Marcus said, as we stopped at a red light. "Next career day, can I present about you? Like officially?" I smiled, thinking about all the career days to come, all the moments we'd share now that the truth had demolished the wall between us. "How about next time, we present together? As partners?" "Partners," he repeated, testing the word. Then, with a grin that was pure joy, "Thomas and Marcus Whitfield, changing the world. One line of code at a time," I agreed. And as we drove toward our future, our real future, built on truth instead of lies, presence instead of absence, I knew that of all the things I'd accomplished, this moment was worth more than any billion-dollar exit. The science wing would stand for generations, bearing Marcus's name. But the bridge rebuilt between father and son today, that was the real monument to what matters most. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. Sometimes it's simply refusing to let them destroy what you love. And as Marcus chatted excitedly about showing me his latest coding project, I knew that this unemployed dad had just landed the only job that truly mattered, being his father again.
I should have known something was wrong when my husband told me to stop being a drama queen while I was burning up with fever on our bathroom floor. My name is Penny, and I'm the kind of person who plans birthday parties 6 months in advance and keeps spreadsheets for grocery shopping. Some people call it controlling. I call it caring. For 2 years, I'd been squirreling away money from my marketing job, skipping lunches, buying generic everything, even selling my grandmother's jewelry, all to give my family the vacation of a lifetime. "Babe, you sure about this resort?" Damien had asked when I first showed him the brochure. "It's pretty expensive." "It's all inclusive," I'd said, practically bouncing. "Your parents have never been anywhere like this. Neither has Lexus. And after the year you've had at work." He'd kissed my forehead then. "You're too good to us." That was 8 months ago. Now, the night before our flight to paradise, I was shivering under 3 blankets while my temperature spiked to 103. "Penny, seriously, you need to pull yourself together," Damien said, standing in the doorway like I might contaminate him. "We leave in 12 hours. "I can barely stand up," I whispered, my throat feeling like sandpaper. "It's probably just stress. You've been obsessing over this trip for weeks." My mother's voice carried from downstairs. "Is she still being dramatic up there?" "Mom's right," Lexus chimed in. "You always get sick when something important happens. Remember my graduation?" I wanted to remind her that I'd had food poisoning from the restaurant she'd insisted we try, but speaking felt impossible. Instead, I watched my family gather in the hallway outside our bedroom, discussing me like I wasn't there. "The doctor said it could be the flu," I managed. "The flu?" My father finally spoke up. "Penny, that's contagious." "Exactly," my mother said, stepping back dramatically. "We can't risk getting sick, not when we've been planning this for months." 2 years, I corrected weakly. "I've been planning this for 2 years." Damien sat on the edge of the bed, but not close enough to touch me. "Look, maybe you should stay home. Rest up. We'll take lots of pictures." The room went silent except for my labored breathing. "Stay home?" The words came out as a croak. The words, "It makes sense," Lexus said, already warming to the idea. "You'd just be miserable anyway. And honestly, You've been so stressed about every little detail, maybe you need the break from vacation planning. My mother nodded. Plus, someone should watch the house, and you know how you get about germs on planes. I don't get weird about germs, I said, but they weren't listening. We could upgrade your room, Damien said to his parents, since Penny won't be using it. Oh, that's perfect, my mother clapped. I saw they have those suites with the private pools. I stared at them, my fever addled brain trying to process what was happening, the vacation I'd sacrificed everything for, the trip I'd planned down to the minute, and they were redistributing my room like I'd never existed. But I paid for everything, I whispered. And we're grateful, Damien said, patting my leg through the blanket. This is probably better anyway. You can recover properly. The resort has a no refund policy for illness, my father added helpfully. I checked. Of course he had. We should probably pack, Lexus said. Early flight and all. They filed out one by one. My mother paused at the door. Try to get some sleep, honey, and maybe clean up a bit while we're gone. The house is a disaster. The house was a disaster because I'd been running around for weeks, confirming reservations, buying everyone new clothes for the trip, and making sure every detail was perfect. Damien came back an hour later with a glass of water and 2 Tylenol. You'll thank us for this, he said. Trust me. I wanted to ask him what I'd done to deserve this. I wanted to remind him about the second job I'd taken last Christmas, the vacation days I'd saved, the credit card I'd maxed out for his parents' first class upgrades. Instead, I closed my eyes and listened to them laugh downstairs, planning their upgraded accommodations in my absence. At 5 a.m., I heard suitcases rolling across the hardwood floor, car doors slamming, the engine starting. They left without saying goodbye. The first day passed in a haze of fever dreams and tissues. I'd drag myself to the kitchen for water, then collapse back into bed, my phone buzzing with notifications I couldn't bring myself to check. By day 2, my temperature had dropped enough that I could think clearly. That's when I made the mistake of looking at my messages. The group chat was called Paradise Squad, a name Lexus had insisted on. Damien. Landed safely. Resort is incredible. Wish you were here, babe. Mom. The suite is gorgeous. 3 bedrooms and our own infinity pool. You would have loved the spa. Dad. Breakfast buffet has everything, even that fancy coffee you like. Lexus. OMG. The beach is perfect. Getting my tan on. I scrolled through dozens of messages, photos of champagne glasses, videos of Lexus doing cartwheels on white sand, my parents posing by their private pool. Then I saw it. A group photo from dinner the night before, all 4 of them raising their glasses in a toast, huge smiles, the ocean sunset behind them. The caption made my stomach drop. Damien. Thinking of you. The laughing emoji reactions from my family felt like slaps. My phone buzzed with a private message from my mother. Mom, hope you're feeling better. Try not to be too upset about missing this. There will be other vacations. Other vacations? With what money? I'd emptied my savings account for this trip. Mom. Also, the resort charged us extra for late check-in yesterday. Something about your booking being changed? Can you look into that when you're feeling up to it? I stared at the message. Late check-in? I'd confirmed everything twice. I'd even called the resort the week before to verify arrival times. Me. What do you mean late check-in? I booked early arrival. Mom. Well, something went wrong. It's fine. We handled it. Just saying you might want to double check your planning next time. My planning, like this was somehow my fault. Another message popped up from Lexus. Lexus. BTW. The couple's massage you booked for you and Damien. I took Mom instead. Hope that's okay. You weren't using it anyway. My couple's massage. The one I'd specifically requested for our anniversary, which was next week. The one that cost $400. Me. That was for me and Damien. Lexus. Yeah, but you're not here, and Mom deserves to be pampered. She's been so stressed about your whole situation. My whole situation. Being sick was now a situation I'd created. The messages kept coming. Dad sent a video of himself at the golf course I'd booked for him and Damien. Thanks for setting this up, Penny. 18 holes of paradise. Damien posted a selfie from the rooftop bar. Living my best life. Thanks to my amazing wife for making this possible. The comments from his friends made me nauseous. Lucky man. Wife goals. When's she joining you? Damien replied. She's taking some personal time at home. Sometimes you need space to appreciate what you have. Space to appreciate what I have. I was home alone with the flu, not on some spiritual journey. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Reynolds? This is Yusuf from Paradise Cove Resort. I'm calling about your reservation. My heart stopped. Is everything okay? Is my family okay? Oh, yes, they're fine. I'm actually calling because there seems to be some confusion about your booking. You're listed as the primary guest, but you're not here, and there have been some requests for upgrades and changes that require your authorization. What kind of changes? Well, your husband requested to move to the presidential suite. Your sister wanted to add several spa treatments, and your parents asked about extending their stay by 3 days. I sat up in bed, my head spinning. Did they mention that I'm sick? That's why I'm not there? No, ma'am. They said you'd decided to stay home for personal reasons. Personal reasons. Not the flu. Not being abandoned by my family. Personal reasons. I see, I said quietly. I wanted to check with you directly before approving any additional charges. The presidential suite alone would be an extra $800 per night. $800 per night for 3 more nights. Can I call you back? Of course, my direct number is 550-147. Ask for Yusuf. I hung up and stared at my phone. Another message had come in while I was talking. Mom, the concierge is being difficult about some upgrades. Can you call them? They said they need to speak to the person who made the booking. So annoying. So annoying. My family spending money I didn't have was annoying to her. I scrolled back through the photos. My mother in a designer cover-up I'd never seen before, Lexus with professional-looking nails that definitely weren't done at home, Damien wearing a new shirt. They were shopping. With what money? My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo from Damien, him and my family at what looked like an expensive restaurant, bottles of wine on the table, everyone dressed up. Damien, celebrating your recovery. Even though you're not here, we know you'd want us to enjoy ourselves. Celebrating my recovery. I was still coughing up phlegm and could barely taste food. I looked around my empty house. Dishes in the sink from the soup I'd tried to eat yesterday. Tissues everywhere. The vacation clothes I'd bought still hanging in my closet with tags on. My phone rang again. Yusuf? Mrs. Reynolds, I'm sorry to bother you again, but your family is asking about charging room service to the room. The bill is already quite substantial. How substantial? Well, with the spa treatments, the restaurant charges, and the bar tabs, it's approaching $3,000 in extras. $3,000 in 2 days. Mrs. Reynolds, are you there? I was there. I was very much there. I'm here, I said to Yusuf, my voice steadier than I felt. Can you hold on just a moment? I muted the call and opened Instagram. Damien had posted a story 20 minutes ago. A video of him doing shots with my father while Lexus and my mother cheered them on. The caption read, "When the wife's away, the family will play." The wife's away. Like I was on some girls' trip instead of home sick with a fever. I unmuted the call. Yusuf, I need to ask you something. What exactly did my family tell you about why I'm not there? They said you had a last-minute change of heart, that you decided you needed some alone time and wanted them to enjoy the vacation without you. A change of heart. Not the flu, not being too sick to travel. A change of heart. I see. And the $3,000 in charges. What does that include? Let me pull up the account. Premium, spa packages, top shelf liquor, the specialty restaurant every night, room service, shopping charges at the resort boutique, golf lessons, parasailing, jet ski rentals. Each item hit like a punch. I'd budgeted for the all-inclusive package. I'd specifically chosen all-inclusive so there wouldn't be surprise charges. Yusuf, when I booked this trip, I selected the all-inclusive option. Yes, you did. But all-inclusive has limits. Premium alcohol, specialty restaurants, and activities like jet skiing aren't included. Your family has been quite enthusiastic about the upgrades. My phone buzzed with another message. Lexus. OMG. Penny, you have to see this massage therapist. I booked us both for tomorrow. It's only $300 each. Only $300 each. $600 for massages. Yusuf, I need to make some changes to the reservation. Of course. What can I help you with? I stood up and walked to my kitchen where I'd left all my vacation planning folders. 2 years of research, price comparisons, and careful budgeting. I'd called this resort 6 times to confirm every detail. I want to revoke the charging privileges for everyone except myself. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I want to remove the ability for my family to charge anything to the room. No more spa treatments, no more premium restaurants, no more activities, just the basic all-inclusive package I originally paid for. Silence on the other end. Mrs. Reynolds, that's certainly your right as the primary guest, but your family has already made reservations for tonight and tomorrow, the spa appointments, the specialty restaurant. Cancel them. All of them? I thought about Damien's post. The wife's away. The family will play. All of them. And the presidential suite upgrade they requested for tonight. Absolutely not. They can stay in the original rooms I booked. Mrs. Reynolds, if I may ask, is everything all right? I laughed and it came out bitter. Everything's perfect, Yusuf. My family is having the time of their lives on my dime while I'm homesick with the flu they abandoned me with. Oh, his voice softened. I'm sorry to hear that. It's fine. Can you make those changes? Yes, but I should warn you. They're not going to be happy when they find out. I'm sure they won't be. Would you like me to explain the situation to them, or would you prefer to handle it yourself? I thought about this. About my mother's messages blaming me for booking errors, about Lexus taking my anniversary massage, about Damien posting videos like I was some absent wife who chose to stay home. Actually, Yusuf, don't tell them anything yet. Just when they try to charge something and it gets declined, tell them they need to speak with the primary guest. That's you. That's me. And if they ask why the charges are being declined, tell them the truth. The person who paid for the vacation needs to authorize any additional expenses. I could hear him typing. Done. Is there anything else? Actually, yes. Can you tell me what the total bill would be if I let them continue spending like this? More typing. Based on their current rate of spending and the reservations they've made for the rest of the week, approximately $8,000 in additional charges. $8,000, on top of the $12,000 I'd already spent on the original booking. Thank you, Yusuf. You've been very helpful. Mrs. Reynolds? For what it's worth, I'm sorry your family isn't there taking care of you while you're sick. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen and waited. It didn't take long. My phone exploded with messages. Dad. Penny, something's wrong with the room charges. They won't let us book dinner at the steakhouse. Mom. The spa canceled my facial. They said something about authorization. This is embarrassing. Lexus. UTF. Penny, my massage got canceled and they're being super rude about it. Fix this. Damien. Babe, call the resort. There's some mix-up with our account. They're saying we can't charge anything. I screenshot all the messages and sent them to my best friend Sarah with a text. Guess what happened when I cut off their spending spree? She called immediately. Penny, are you serious? They're actually mad at you? Apparently I'm supposed to fix it from my sickbed. Don't you dare call that resort back. Oh, I'm not calling to fix it. What do you mean? I looked at my phone, which was now ringing with a call from Damien. I mean, I'm just getting started. I let Damien's call go to voicemail. Then I turned my phone off completely. For the first time in 2 days, I felt hungry. Actually hungry, not just forcing myself to eat soup. I made scrambled eggs with cheese, the good cheese I'd been saving for a special occasion. While they cooked, I remembered something. Last Christmas, when I'd gotten food poisoning at Lexus's graduation dinner. Penny, you always do this, my mother had said while I was throwing up in the restaurant bathroom. You get sick at the worst possible times. It's not on purpose, Mom. Well, it feels like it is. Lexus has been planning this celebration for months. I'd been planning it. I'd made the reservations, bought Lexus's dress, even arranged for her favorite flowers at the table. But when the seafood made me violently ill, somehow I was the one ruining everything. The eggs were perfect. I ate them slowly, tasting every bite. My landline rang. I'd forgotten I even had one. Penny? It was my mother, her voice sharp. Why is your cell phone off? I'm resting, like you all suggested. Well, we need you to call the resort. There's been some terrible mistake with our account. What kind of mistake? They're saying we can't charge anything. The concierge was incredibly rude to your father. He tried to book a fishing excursion, and they embarrassed him in front of everyone. I took another bite of eggs. That's strange. It's more than strange. It's unacceptable. You need to fix this immediately. Mom, I'm still sick. You sound fine to me. I'm not fine. I have the flu, remember? The reason I couldn't come on the vacation I planned and paid for? Silence. Penny, don't be dramatic. We're having a crisis here. What kind of crisis? We can't do anything. No spa treatments, no nice dinners, no activities. We're stuck with basic resort food and the regular pool. Like, like regular people. Regular people. The horror. Maybe you could pay for the extras yourselves? With what money? You know your father's on a fixed income, and Damien's between jobs right now. Damien was between jobs? Since when? When did Damien lose his job? He didn't lose it. He's taking a break. He's been so stressed. A break? For how long? Penny, that's not the point. The point is, you need to call the resort and fix this mess. I hung up. My phone stayed off for 3 hours. When I finally turned it back on, I had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The group chat was chaos. Lexus. This is literally the worst vacation ever. We can't do anything. Dad. Penny, please call. The resort manager was very unprofessional. Damien. Babe, seriously, call me back. This is getting ridiculous. Mom. I'm humiliated. The spa receptionist treated me like I was some kind of scammer. Then I saw something that made me sit up straight. Lexus. BTW, guess who we ran into at the bar? Kaya from Damien's college, small world. Kaya, Damien's college girlfriend, the one he'd stayed friends with on social media, the one who liked every single one of his posts within minutes. I scrolled through the messages, looking for more details. Damien. Yeah, crazy coincidence. She's here with some girlfriends. Lexus. She looks amazing. Remember when you guys dated? So funny how life works out. Mom. Such a sweet girl. She asked about you, Penny. I bet she did. My phone rang. Sarah. Please tell me you're not caving to their demands. I'm not. But Sarah, guess who's at the resort? Who? Kaya, Damien's ex. The one who's always commenting on his Instagram? That's the one. Oh, this is rich. So let me get this straight. Your husband abandons you while you're sick, goes on the vacation you paid for, and runs into his ex-girlfriend? Apparently. And now they're all texting you, demanding you fix their spending problems so they can continue partying? Pretty much. Penny, you need to see this. See what? Check Damien's Instagram right now. I opened the app with shaking hands. Damien's latest story was from 2 hours ago. A group photo at the resort bar. Damien, my parents, Lexus, and 3 women I didn't recognize. One of them was stunning. Long dark hair, perfect smile, designer dress. That had to be Kaya. But it was the next photo that made my blood run cold. Damien and Kaya, just the 2 of them, sitting close at the bar. Her hand was on his arm. They were both laughing. The caption read, "Reconnecting with old friends." Sarah, are you seeing this? I screenshot everything. Penny, I'm so sorry. I stared at the photo. My husband on the vacation I'd sacrificed everything for, getting cozy with his ex-girlfriend while I was homesick. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi, Penny, this is Kaya. Got your number from Lexus. So sorry you couldn't make the trip. Damien's been telling me all about your situation. Hope you feel better soon. My situation. There was that phrase again. I screenshot the message and sent it to Sarah. Oh, hell no, she said immediately. What are you going to do? I looked at the photo again. Damien's hand was resting on the back of Kaya's chair. I'm going to call Yusuf. The resort manager? Yeah, I think it's time to make some more changes to their vacation. Yusuf, it's Penny again. Mrs. Reynolds, how are you feeling? Much better, actually. I wanted to ask you about something. That photo my husband posted on social media, the one at your bar with the woman who's not his wife, is that normal behavior for your resort? A pause. I'm sorry, I don't follow social media accounts of our guests. Of course not. But hypothetically, if a married man was getting very friendly with another woman while his sick wife was at home and that man was charging expensive drinks to a room his wife paid for, what would you think about that? Hypothetically, I'd think that man was making some very poor choices. Hypothetically, Mrs. Reynolds, is there something specific I can help you with? I pulled up Damien's Instagram again. He'd posted another story 30 minutes ago. This time it was a video of him and Kaya dancing. Her arms were around his neck. Actually, yes. I want to make sure my family understands exactly what this vacation is costing. How so? Can you itemize every single charge they've attempted to make, even the ones that were declined? Certainly. Would you like me to email that to you? Yes, but I also want you to present it to them in person today. Present it to them? Call it a courtesy check in, let them know exactly how much they've tried to spend, and remind them that any additional charges need to be approved by the primary guest. That's unusual, but not unreasonable. And Yusuf, when you do this, make sure they understand that the primary guest is currently at home, sick with the flu, and unable to authorize any additional expenses. I understand. One more thing. Can you tell me what their reaction is when you explain this to them? You want me to report back? I want to know if they show any concern for the person who's paying for their vacation. After I hung up, I made myself a proper lunch, grilled cheese and tomato soup, comfort food I actually had an appetite for. While I ate, my phone stayed mercifully quiet. Then, at exactly 2:47 p.m., it exploded. Lexus. Penny, what the hell? Mom, this is humiliating. The manager just cornered us by the pool. Dad, very unprofessional behavior from the resort staff. Damien, call me, now. I screenshot everything and sent it to Sarah with the message, Phase 2, complete. She called immediately. What did you do? I had the resort manager explain their spending to them, in public. Oh my God, you're evil. I love it. It gets better. Guess what Damien posted 20 minutes before the manager showed up? What? A video of him dirty dancing with Kaya. No. Yes. And guess what he posted right after the manager left? I refreshed Instagram. Damien's latest story was a selfie with a caption that made my stomach turn. When life gives you lemons, make margaritas. Some people just don't know how to have fun. Some people, meaning me. Sarah, he's posting about me, about how I don't know how to have fun. While you're homesick. While I'm homesick with the flu, I caught taking care of his laundry and meal prep before the trip. My phone rang. Damien. Don't answer it, Sarah said. I'm not. It went to voicemail. Then rang again. And again. Finally, a text. Penny, you're embarrassing us. People are staring. Fix this. I was embarrassing them. Another message came in, this one from an unknown number. I opened it and nearly dropped my phone. It was a photo, Damien and Kaya in what looked like a hotel room. Not the resort room, a different room. They were sitting on a bed, and Kaya was wearing what appeared to be Damien's shirt. The message was from Kaya. Thought you should know what your husband's been up to. Sorry, girl. Sarah, I need to call you back. Why? What happened? Kaya just sent me a photo. What kind of photo? I stared at the image. Damien's wedding ring was clearly visible on the nightstand behind them. The kind that ends marriages. I hung up and immediately called Yusuf back. Mrs. Reynolds? Yusuf, I need to ask you something confidential. Do you have security cameras in your hotel? Of course. Why? If a guest was seen leaving the resort with someone who wasn't their spouse and then returning the next morning, would that be something you'd notice? Mrs. Reynolds, I can't discuss the activities of specific guests, even if that guest was charging the room to someone else's credit card? A long pause. What exactly are you asking me? I'm asking if my husband left the resort last night with another woman. I I can't confirm that, but you're not denying it. Mrs. Reynolds, perhaps we should discuss what you'd like to do about the remainder of their stay. Actually, yes, let's discuss that. How many days do they have left? 3 days, checking out Sunday morning. And what would happen if I canceled the reservation entirely? They'd need to find alternative accommodations or pay for the remaining nights themselves. How much would that cost them? For the rooms they're currently in, about $800 per night. I looked at the photo again. Damien's smug smile, Kaya wearing his shirt, my wedding ring money funding their affair. Youssef, don't cancel anything yet, but I want you to do me one more favor. What's that? I want you to prepare their final bill, everything they've charged, everything they've tried to charge, and what they'd owe if they had to pay for the rest of their stay themselves. That's quite a substantial amount. I'm counting on it. Sunday morning, checkout day. I woke up feeling completely normal for the first time in a week. No fever, no congestion, no body aches, just pure, crystalline clarity about what I needed to do. My phone had been quiet since yesterday evening. Too quiet. I called Yusuf at exactly 9 a.m. Mrs. Reynolds, perfect timing. Your family is actually here at the front desk right now. Are they? Yes, and there seems to be some confusion about the final bill. What kind of confusion? Well, they're insisting there's been a mistake. They seem to think everything should be covered under the all inclusive package you purchased. I could hear voices in the background. My mother's shrill tone, Lexus whining, Damien's fake charming voice trying to smooth things over. Yusuf, can you put me on speaker? Are you sure? Absolutely. I heard the click, then suddenly my family's voices became crystal clear. Completely unacceptable, my mother was saying. We were told this was all inclusive. Ma'am, as I've explained, the all inclusive package covers standard amenities. The premium spa treatments, top shelf alcohol, specialty restaurants, and activities you've enjoyed are additional charges. But we weren't told that, Lexus snapped. Actually, Yusuf said smoothly, I have Mrs. Reynolds on the line. Perhaps she can clarify the situation. Dead silence. Penny? Damien's voice suddenly much smaller. Hi, everyone. Having a good trip? Penny, there's been some kind of mistake with the bill, my father said quickly. What kind of mistake, Dad? They're trying to charge us thousands of dollars for things that should be included. Yusuf, can you read them the itemized list? Certainly. Premium spa package for 4 people, $200. Specialty restaurant dining for 6 nights, $890. Top shelf liquor and cocktails, $650. Golf lessons and equipment rental, $400. Jet ski and parasailing, $550. Shopping charges at resort boutique, $380. Room service, $290, and the presidential suite upgrade for 2 nights, $1,600. That's almost $6,000, I said helpfully. Penny, we didn't know, Damien started. Didn't know what? That champagne costs more than beer? That the spa treatments you've been posting about all week weren't free? You're being unreasonable, my mother cut in. We thought everything was covered. Everything I paid for was covered. The basic, all inclusive package, the one you all said I was obsessing over when I spent months researching it. So what are you saying? Lexus demanded. I'm saying you have two choices. Pay the bill yourselves, or I can cover it and we can discuss repayment when you get home. Repayment? My mother's voice went up an octave. Penny, we're family. Are we? The silence stretched out. What's that supposed to mean? Damien asked. It means family doesn't abandon each other when they're sick. Family doesn't mock the person paying for their vacation. And family definitely doesn't. I stopped myself. Not yet. Doesn't what? Damien pressed. Yusuf, are they still there? Yes, Mrs. Reynolds. Can you give them some privacy to discuss their payment options? I'll hold. I heard muffled voices, then Yusuf came back on the line. They've stepped aside to talk. Mrs. Reynolds, I have to ask, are you planning to cover this bill? What do you think I should do, Yusuf? Honestly, I think your family has taken advantage of your generosity. That's putting it mildly. The woman who's been with your husband, she checked out this morning, separately. My heart stopped. Separately? Different room, paid for her own stay. She left about an hour ago. So Kaya was gone, but the evidence of what happened wasn't. Yusef, I need you to do something for me. What's that? When my family comes back, I want you to tell them that I've decided not to cover the additional charges. You want them to pay the full amount? I want them to understand what their choices cost. I could hear my family's voices getting louder in the background. They're coming back, Yusuf said quietly. Put me back on speaker. Click. Penny? My father's voice, strained. We've talked it over, and we think the best solution is for you to handle this bill and we'll work something out later. No? No? I'm not covering your extra charges. Penny, be reasonable, Damien said. We don't have $6,000. Then you shouldn't have spent $6,000. This is ridiculous, Lexus exploded. You're our sister. And you're my family, the family that left me home alone with a 103-degree fever so you could party on my dime. We didn't abandon you, my mother protested. You were sick. We couldn't risk getting sick too. But you could risk spending money I didn't have. Penny, please, Damien's voice was getting desperate. Just this once, I'll pay you back. With what money? The job you don't have anymore? Silence. Oh, you didn't tell them about that? I continued. About how you've been unemployed for 3 months and didn't bother mentioning it? Penny, or should we talk about Kaya? The silence was deafening. Who's Kaya? My mother asked. Ask your son-in-law. Ask him about the woman he's been posting photos with all week. Ask him where he spent Thursday night. Penny, you're being paranoid, Damien said, but his voice shook. Am I? Yusef, can you confirm that a woman named Kaya checked out of the resort this morning? I can confirm that, yes. And can you confirm that she was not part of the original reservation I made? That's correct. Damien, my mother's voice was sharp. What is she talking about? I smiled, even though they couldn't see me. Yusef, please give them their bill. All of it. And let them know they have 30 minutes to settle their account before security gets involved. Penny, wait! Damien started. But I'd already hung up. My phone immediately started ringing. I turned it off and went to make breakfast. The real fun was just beginning. I kept my phone off for 6 hours. When I finally turned it back on at 3 p.m., I had 67 missed calls and 89 text messages. The group chat was a war zone. Mom. Penny, we had to put the bill on 3 different credit cards. Dad. This is going to take us months to pay off. Lexus. I can't believe you did this to us. Damien. We need to talk. I'm coming home early. That last message was from 2 hours ago. I heard a car door slam in my driveway. Damien walked through the front door like he owned the place, dragging his suitcase behind him. His face was red, his hair disheveled, and he looked like he hadn't slept. What the hell was that, Penny? Hello to you too. How was your vacation? Don't play games with me. Do you have any idea what you just did? I sat on the couch, completely calm. I let you experience the real cost of your choices. $6,000, Penny. Your parents had to max out their credit cards. My parents? What about you? What did you put on your card? He looked away. I'm between jobs right now. For 3 months. 3 months, Damien, and you didn't tell me. I was going to. When? After you bankrupted us, paying for vacations we can't afford? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You've been unemployed for 3 months, spending money we don't have, while I worked overtime to pay for a vacation you abandoned me for. You were sick. I had the flu. People get sick, Damien. Normal people take care of each other when that happens. He started pacing. You're making this into something it's not. Am I? Let's talk about Kaya. He froze. Sit down, Damien. Penny, sit down. He sat on the edge of the armchair, as far from me as possible. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo Kaya had sent me. Want to explain this? His face went white. Where did you get that? She sent it to me. Your girlfriend sent me a photo of you two in bed together. She's not my girlfriend. No? What is she then? It's complicated. Uncomplicated. He put his head in his hands. We ran into each other at the resort. We had some drinks. We talked about old times. And then you slept with her. It didn't mean anything. It meant something to me. Penny, I was upset. You weren't there. I was stressed about money, about work. So you cheated on me. It was one night. One night that I paid for. One night in a resort room that I saved for 2 years to afford. He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something that might have been shame. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry you got caught? I'm sorry I hurt you, but not sorry you did it. He didn't answer. My phone rang. My mother. Answer it, I said. Put it on speaker. Penny, answer it, or I'm calling a divorce lawyer right now. He answered. Hi, Vivian. Damien. Thank God. Is Penny there? I'm here, Mom. Penny, what you did today was cruel and vindictive. Your father and I are devastated. Are you? We had to borrow money from your uncle to pay that bill. We're humiliated. You're humiliated? How do you think I felt when you left me home sick so you could party with my money? That's different. How is it different? You were sick. We couldn't help that. You could have stayed home. You could have postponed the trip. You could have shown 1 ounce of concern for the person who sacrificed everything to give you that vacation. We were grateful. No, you weren't. You were entitled. You took my generosity for granted, and when I got sick, you saw it as an inconvenience instead of an opportunity to take care of me. Penny, you're being dramatic. Am I? Let me ask you something, Mom. When was the last time you asked how I was feeling? Not about the resort bill, not about the vacation. About me. Silence. When was the last time any of you asked if I needed anything while I was sick? More silence. That's what I thought. Penny, my father's voice came through the phone. We love you. Do you? Because it doesn't feel like love. It feels like you love what I do for you. The vacations I plan, the money I spend, the problems I solve. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you called me just to talk? When's the last time you invited me somewhere that I didn't have to pay for? I looked at Damien, who was staring at the floor. When's the last time my own husband took me on a date that didn't involve me planning and paying for everything? Penny, Damien started. Don't. Just don't. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, where I'd left a manila envelope on the counter. Damien, I have something for you. I handed him the envelope. What is this? Separation papers. I had them drawn up yesterday. He stared at the envelope like it might bite him. You're divorcing me over one mistake? I'm divorcing you over 3 years of mistakes. The unemployment you hid, the money you've been spending, the way you treat me like your personal assistant instead of your wife. And the cheating? The cheating was just the final straw. My mother's voice came through the phone, shrill and desperate. Penny, you can't break up the family over this. I'm not breaking up the family, Mom. I'm just done being the only one who cares about keeping it together. I took the phone from Damien. I need some time to think about what kind of relationship I want with all of you going forward. If I want one at all. Penny, please. I hung up. Damien was still holding the envelope. You really want me to sign this? I want you to read it. Think about it. And decide if you want to fight for this marriage or if you want to make this easy. What if I want to fight for it? I looked at him. Really looked at him. The man I'd married 3 years ago, who'd promised to love and cherish me in sickness and in health. Then you'd better figure out how to do that without my credit card. 3 weeks passed before anyone contacted me. I spent those weeks doing things I'd forgotten I enjoyed. I read entire books in one sitting. I took long baths without checking my phone. I cooked elaborate meals just for myself and ate them slowly, tasting every bite. Sarah came over every few days, bringing wine and updates from the outside world. Your sister's been posting about having to pick up extra shifts at work, she said, scrolling through Instagram. Very dramatic captions about family betrayal and learning who people really are. Ironic. Your mom's been calling my mom, asking if I know how you're doing. What did you tell her? That you're doing great. Which seems to be true. It was true. I felt lighter than I had in years. The call came on a Tuesday evening. My father. Penny? It's Dad. Hi, Dad. Can we talk? In person? About what? About everything. About what happened. About what we did wrong. I almost said no. Almost hung up. But something in his voice stopped me. Just you. Just me. He came over the next evening, looking older than I remembered. He sat at my kitchen table, hands folded like a child waiting to be scolded. Your mother doesn't know I'm here. I figured. She's she's not handling this well. The credit card bills, the stress. She had to go to the doctor yesterday. I felt a flicker of concern, then pushed it down. What's wrong with her? High blood pressure, anxiety. The doctor said it's stress related. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? The question surprised me. Of course I am. I don't want Mom to be sick. But you're not sorry about what you did. I looked at him carefully. Are you asking me to be? He was quiet for a long time. I keep thinking about that morning, he said finally. When we left, you were so sick and we walked out. Yes, you did. I told myself we were doing the right thing, that you needed rest, that we'd just be in the way. Did you believe that? I wanted to. It was easier than admitting we were being selfish. I poured him a cup of coffee. He wrapped his hands around the mug like he was cold. Your mother keeps saying you overreacted. That families forgive each other. That's what families do. What do you think? I think we forgot you were part of the family too. The honesty in his voice caught me off guard. Dad, let me finish. I think we got so used to you taking care of everything, planning everything, paying for everything, that we forgot you might need taking care of too. I felt tears starting and blinked them back. I think, he continued, that when you got sick, we saw it as an inconvenience instead of a chance to show you how much we appreciate everything you do. And now? Now, I think we learned what it costs when the person holding everything together decides to let go. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Yusuf from Paradise Cove. Hope you're feeling better. Thought you'd want to know. Your family has been blacklisted from future stays. Management's decision. Take care. I showed the text to my father. He read it and winced. We really screwed up, didn't we? Yeah, Dad, you did. Can you forgive us? I don't know yet. He nodded. That's fair. But I'm glad you came. I'm glad you can see what really happened. What about Damien? I glanced at the divorce papers on my counter, signed and ready to file. What about him? Are you really getting divorced? He cheated on me, Dad, on a vacation I paid for while I was homesick with the flu. I know. I'm not saying you should forgive him. I'm asking if you want to. No, I don't. Then you shouldn't. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Dad, I need you to understand something. What's that? I'm not the same person who planned that vacation. I'm not going to keep sacrificing myself to make everyone else happy. I know. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be different. I'm not going to be the one who always gives and never receives. What would that look like? It would look like you calling to check on me when I'm sick. It would look like you planning something for my birthday instead of expecting me to plan my own party. It would look like treating me like a daughter, not a travel agent. He smiled sadly. We can do that. Can you? Because it's going to mean disappointing Mom sometimes. And Lexus, when they expect me to fix their problems or pay for their wants, and I say no. We'll figure it out. My phone rang. Damien, I looked at my father. I should take this. Penny. Damien's voice was rough. I signed the papers. Okay. I also got a job. A real job. I start Monday. Good for you. I know it's too late, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. I hope you are. For your sake. Not for us. There is no us anymore, Damien. I know. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just sorry I got caught. Thank you. Will you be okay? I looked around my quiet house at my father sitting at my table, at the life I was building for myself. Yeah, I think I will be. After I hung up, my father stood to leave. Dad? Yeah? Next time you want to take a vacation, plan it yourself. And pay for it yourself, he laughed. Deal! But if you want to come over for dinner sometime just to spend time together, I'd like that. I'd like that too. After he left, I sat on my couch with a cup of tea and opened my laptop. I had an email from my bank about the credit card I'd used for the resort. The balance was finally paid off. I closed the laptop and smiled. My weakness had been my generosity, but I was learning the difference between generosity and being used. And for the first time in years, I was looking forward to finding out who I was when I wasn't trying to make everyone else happy. The price of revenge had been steep: a marriage, a family dynamic, thousands of dollars in credit card debt. But the cost of staying silent would have been steeper. I was finally free.
The phone rang at 2:47 a.m., jolting me from the deepest sleep I'd had in months. I should have known right then that my life was about to implode. "Peyton, honey, thank God you answered." Mom's voice cracked through the speaker, thick with tears. "I didn't want to wake you, but I couldn't wait until morning. My name is Peyton, and up until that phone call, I thought I had everything figured out. 29 years old, MBA from Northwestern, and exactly 18 hours away from signing the contract that would launch me into the stratosphere of international consulting. Singapore, 6 figures, the works. Mom, what's wrong?" I sat up, already reaching for the lamp. It's bad, sweetheart. The doctors ran more tests after that appointment last week, and..." She dissolved into sobs that made my chest tighten. "What did they say?" 6 months, maybe less." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The cancer spread faster than they expected." The room spun. Mom had mentioned feeling tired lately, some doctor visits, but cancer? Terminal cancer? "I'm coming home," I said without thinking. No, you have that big job opportunity. I won't let you." "Mom, stop. I'm coming home." 3 hours later, my sister Soleil called. "Did Mom tell you?" she asked, skipping any greeting. "Yeah, I can't believe it." "She's trying to be brave, but she's terrified. Dad's completely falling apart. He can barely function." Soleil's voice carried that familiar edge of drama she'd perfected since childhood. "Someone needs to be here full time. You know how she gets when she's scared. She won't eat, won't take her medications properly." "What about you?" "I can't just abandon my career, Peyton. I'm finally getting somewhere at the agency. Besides, you're better at the caretaking stuff. You always were." Better at caretaking. Right. Translation: I was the responsible one who always cleaned up everyone else's messes. "The Singapore job." "Will there be other jobs?" "Yes." "Will there be another mom?" "No." Soleil's voice sharpened. "Look, I know it sucks, but family comes first. That's what you always say, right?" She had me there. I'd been preaching family loyalty since we were kids, always the one mediating their fights, covering for their mistakes, making sure everyone else's needs came first. 2 days later, I was on a plane to Chicago, my Singapore contract unsigned and my apartment sublet. The company wasn't thrilled, but they understood. Family emergency, terminal illness, these things happen. Dad picked me up at the airport looking like he'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled. "Thank you for coming home," he said, pulling me into a hug that felt desperate. "I don't know what we would have done without you." The house looked exactly the same, Mom's pristine decorating, not a throw pillow out of place. She was in the kitchen when we arrived, wearing her favorite yellow sundress and looking fine. Tired maybe, but not like someone with 6 months to live. "My baby girl," she said, wrapping me in her arms. "I'm so sorry you had to give up that job for me." "Don't be sorry, I'm exactly where I need to be." The first week passed in a blur of doctor appointments, prescription pickups, and grocery runs. Mom seemed to have good days and bad days, but mostly she just seemed fragile, scared. I threw myself into taking care of everything: cooking, cleaning, managing her medications, driving her to treatments. Soleil visited twice, both times for less than an hour. She was swamped at work and dealing with her own stress about Mom's situation. Dad went to the office every day but came home exhausted, claiming he couldn't concentrate on anything. "It's such a relief having you here," Mom said one evening as I brought her tea. "I can actually rest knowing someone responsible is handling everything." 3 weeks in, I was doing laundry at midnight when I heard voices from the living room. Mom and Soleil were video chatting, and I could hear them clearly through the thin walls. "She's such a sucker," Soleil laughed. "I can't believe she actually fell for it." "Shh, keep your voice down," Mom whispered, but she was giggling too. I almost broke character when she started crying about Singapore. My hands froze on the laundry basket. "How long do you think we can keep this up?" Soleil asked. "As long as we need to. She's always been desperate to be needed. Besides, who's going to question a dying woman?" They both erupted in laughter that cut through me like broken glass. I stood there in the dark hallway, holding a basket of their clothes, listening to them mock my sacrifice, the Singapore job, my career, my future, all of it thrown away for a lie. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying their laughter over and over. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. I was going to watch and wait. "Morning, sweetheart," Mom said when I came downstairs. She was buttering toast, moving with the energy of someone who definitely wasn't dying. "How did you sleep?" "Fine." I poured coffee with steady hands. "How are you feeling today?" "Oh, some days are better than others." She touched her forehead dramatically. "The fatigue is really hitting me this morning. Maybe you should rest. I'll handle breakfast." "You're such an angel." She patted my cheek. "I don't know what I'd do without you." The next few days were an education in just how little my family thought of me. With fresh eyes, I saw everything clearly. Mom's treatments were actually spa appointments with her friend Linda. Her medications were vitamins and supplements. The bad days when she stayed in bed coincided perfectly with her favorite TV shows. Dad came home Tuesday night and dumped his briefcase on the counter I'd just cleaned. "Peyton, can you iron my shirts for tomorrow? The dry cleaner messed up the order." "Sure, Dad." "And maybe meal prep for the week? I've been eating nothing but takeout." I nodded, adding it to the mental list that already included grocery shopping, house cleaning, lawn care, and managing Mom's fake medical schedule. Wednesday, Soleil stopped by during her lunch break. "God, this house looks amazing," she said, surveying the spotless living room. "You've really outdone yourself." "Thanks." "Oh, and can you pick up my dress from the alterations place? I'm too busy to get there before they close." She tossed me the ticket. "It's for the Italy trip next month." "Italy? Didn't I mention? Marcus is taking me to Tuscany for 2 weeks. I know the timing isn't great with Mom being sick, but she insisted I go, said she wants me to live my life." Soleil examined her manicure. "You don't mind holding down the fort, right?" "Of course not." Thursday evening, I was scrubbing the kitchen floor when I overheard Dad on a work call. No, I can't take on the Morrison account right now. Family situation, you understand. My wife is... well, it's serious." His voice dropped to the perfect tone of a grieving husband. "My daughter moved back home to help, thank God. At least I don't have to worry about the day-to-day stuff." Friday night, they had friends over for dinner. I served and cleaned while they entertained, playing the role of the devoted daughter caring for her dying mother. Mom even managed a few strategic coughs during dessert. "Peyton's been such a blessing," she told their guests. "She gave up this incredible job opportunity to take care of me." "How selfless," Mrs. Patterson cooed. "You raised her right, Robin." "She's always been our responsible one." I smiled and refilled wine glasses invisible in my own home. Saturday morning, I found Soleil's laptop open on the kitchen table. She was upstairs showering, and the screen showed her bank account. The balance made my stomach drop. She had more money than I'd ever seen in one place. And according to the transaction history, most of it came from regular transfers from something called SL Consulting LLC. "Peyton," Mom called from upstairs, "can you bring me some tea and maybe run to the pharmacy? I'm almost out of my pain medication. The pain medication that was actually Tylenol PM. Coming, Mom. That afternoon, while they were all out, Dad golfing, Mum at her support group, our book club, and Soleil shopping, I went through the house methodically. I found Mum's real medical records in her desk drawer, clean bill of health from her last physical. I found Dad's credit card statements showing charges for expensive dinners and golf memberships while I bought groceries with my own money. I found Soleil's fake consulting company paperwork hidden in her old bedroom. They weren't just lying to me, they were stealing from me, using me, and laughing about it. Sunday dinner was the final straw. We were eating the pot roast I'd spent 3 hours making when Soleil casually mentioned her promotion. "They're making me senior account manager," she announced. 30% raise. "That's wonderful, honey," Dad said. "You've worked so hard." "Unlike some people, I didn't just give up when things got tough." She glanced at me. "I mean, I know you had to make sacrifices, Peyton, but I couldn't just abandon my career." Mom reached over and squeezed my hand. "Peyton understands that family comes first. She's always been our little caretaker." I looked around the table at their faces, satisfied, smug, completely comfortable with their deception. They thought they had me trapped. The dutiful daughter who would never leave, never fight back, never stop serving them. They were wrong. That night, I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases. I left no note, no explanation, no forwarding address. At 5 a.m., while they were all sleeping off their Sunday wine, I walked out the front door and didn't look back. My phone started ringing before I reached the highway. I let the phone ring 17 times before turning it off. The motel room was exactly what you'd expect for $49 a night: scratchy bedspread, flickering TV, and a view of the parking lot. But it was mine, and nobody was asking me to iron their shirts or pretend their lies were truth. The email came at 8:23 a.m. Subject: urgent opportunity, Meridian Consulting. "Peyton, I know this is unexpected, but we have a situation that requires your specific expertise. Are you available for a call this morning? The compensation would be significant. Best regards, Talon McCoy, Senior Partner, Meridian Consulting." I stared at the screen. Meridian was the firm that had tried to poach me twice in the past year. Big league corporate restructuring, the kind of place that made or destroyed companies before lunch. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Where are you? Your mother is hysterical." I deleted it and called Talon. "Peyton, thank you for calling so quickly." His voice was crisp, authoritative. "I'll cut to the chase. We're acquiring a mid-sized manufacturing firm in Chicago. The transition needs to be handled delicately, and we need someone who understands the local business culture." "What's the company?" "Lane Industries." The phone slipped in my hand. "I'm sorry, what?" "Lane Industries, family-owned operation, about 200 employees. The owner, Bo Lane, has been running it into the ground for years. We're bringing in fresh leadership, streamlining operations. It's going to require some tough decisions." My father's company, the business he'd inherited from his father and spent 20 years slowly destroying through incompetence and ego. "You still there?" Talon asked. Yes, I'm here." The thing is, this isn't just a standard acquisition. The current management has been creative with their accounting. We need someone who can navigate the politics while we clean house, someone who won't get emotionally attached to the existing structure. What kind of creative accounting? Inflated salaries for family members, questionable consulting contracts, expense accounts that would make a senator blush, the usual nepotism nightmare. He paused. "I did my research on you, Peyton. You grew up in Chicago. You know how these family businesses operate. Plus, you've got the spine for difficult conversations." Another text from Mom. "Please come home. We can talk about this." What would my role be exactly? Lead consultant on the restructuring. You'd have full authority to make personnel decisions, restructure departments, eliminate redundancies. The board wants a complete overhaul, and they're willing to pay handsomely for it. How handsomely? 200,000 base, plus bonuses tied to cost savings. Could easily hit 350 if you deliver what we need. More money than I'd ever made. More than enough to start over completely. There's one more thing, Talon continued. This needs to happen fast. We're announcing the acquisition Monday. I need you in Chicago by Wednesday to start the assessment. That's 3 days. I know it's tight, but the current management doesn't know what's coming. We want to maintain the element of surprise. Element of surprise. Dad had no idea his company was being sold out from under him. None of them did. Peyton, what do you say? My phone buzzed again. Soleil this time. Mom's having chest pains. Where the hell are you? Fake chest pains, no doubt. Another performance to guilt me back into line. I'll take it. Excellent. I'll have contracts sent over within the hour. Plan to fly out Tuesday night. We'll put you up at the Marriott downtown. Actually, I'm already in Chicago. Even better. Can you meet me for coffee this afternoon? There are some details we should discuss in person. We met at a Starbucks in the Loop. Talon was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive suit, silver hair, the kind of confidence that came from destroying people's livelihoods for profit. He slid a folder across the table. Lane Industries' financial statements for the past 3 years, he said. Take a look. The numbers were worse than I'd imagined. Revenue declining, overhead bloated, debt climbing. Dad had been coasting on the company's reputation while bleeding it dry. The family members on payroll are particularly interesting, Talon noted, pointing to a highlighted section. Bo Lane, CEO, $200,000. Soleil Lane, marketing consultant, $90,000 for what appears to be part-time work. Robin Lane, administrative advisor, $60,000 for, well, we're not sure what she actually does. My family had been living off the company like parasites while Dad ran it into the ground. What's your timeline for personnel changes? I asked. Immediate. The board wants the dead weight gone within 2 weeks of closing. They're particularly concerned about the consulting contracts. He leaned forward. Between you and me, some of these arrangements look borderline fraudulent. What happens to employees who get terminated? Severance packages, references if they deserve them. We're not monsters, Peyton. We're just not running a charity. My phone buzzed. Another text from Dad. Your mother collapsed. She's asking for you. I showed Talon the message. Family emergency? He asked. Something like that. I closed the folder. When do I start? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. He stood and extended his hand. Welcome to Meridian, Peyton. I have a feeling you're going to fit right in. As I shook his hand, my phone rang. Mum's number. This time I answered. Peyton, sweetheart, please come home. I'm so sorry about everything. We can work this out. Actually, Mum, I am coming home. Tomorrow, in fact. Oh, thank God. I'll be at Dad's office. We have a lot to discuss. The Meridian offices occupied 3 floors of a glass tower that made Dad's building look like a relic. I walked in wearing my sharpest suit, the one I'd bought for Singapore, and felt like I was stepping into a different version of myself. You must be Peyton. A woman with short auburn hair approached me in the lobby. I'm Mia Graham, senior analyst. Talon asked me to show you around. Nice to meet you. Coffee first, or do you want to dive straight into the carnage? She grinned. Fair warning, this acquisition is going to be messier than most. We took the elevator to the 15th floor. The Meridian offices were all clean lines and modern furniture, the kind of place where million-dollar decisions happened over lattes. So, Lane Industries, Mia said as we walked. What's your connection to Chicago manufacturing? I grew up here. I know how these family businesses work. Good, because this one's a doozy. The owner's been treating the company like his personal piggy bank for years. She handed me a tablet. These are the preliminary findings from our financial audit. The numbers were even worse than what Talon had shown me. Expense accounts for business dinners at restaurants I knew Dad took Mum to for their anniversaries. Company credit cards used for personal shopping. A consulting contract for Soleil that paid her more per hour than most of the actual employees made in a week. The legal team flagged several transactions as potentially fraudulent, Mia continued, especially this SL consulting arrangement, $90,000 a year for what appears to be social media posts and the occasional brochure design. SL Consulting, Soleil's fake company, the one I'd found paperwork for in her bedroom. What's the plan for addressing the fraud? That's where you come in. Talon wants a full personnel review by Friday. Everyone gets evaluated. Performance, necessity, legal exposure. The board wants recommendations for immediate termination, restructuring, and potential criminal referrals. We stopped at a conference room where a man in his 30s was reviewing contracts. King Wells, meet Peyton, Mia said. King's our legal eagle. He'll be handling the messier aspects of this transition. King looked up and smiled. The infamous Peyton. Talon's been singing your praises all morning. Infamous? He said you have the perfect combination of local knowledge and ruthless pragmatism. King gestured to the stack of papers in front of him. I've been going through the employment contracts, and let me tell you, this family has been creative. Nepotism clauses, guaranteed salary increases, termination protections that would make a union boss weep. Can we break them? Oh, absolutely, especially once we document the performance issues and potential fraud. The question is how brutal you want to be. My phone buzzed, a text from Soleil. Dad's freaking out, says someone's been asking questions about the company. Do you know anything? I showed the message to King and Mia. Word travels fast, King said. We haven't even announced the acquisition yet. Small business community, Mia explained. Someone probably noticed our people sniffing around the financials. Another text from Dad. Need to talk to you urgently. Something's happening at work. They're panicking, I said. Good, King replied. Panic makes people sloppy. They'll start making mistakes trying to cover their tracks. Makes our job easier. Talon appeared in the doorway. How's our new team member settling in? Just reviewing the Lane Industries situation, Mia said. Excellent. Peyton, walk with me. He led me to his corner office, which had a view of the entire downtown skyline. I want to be clear about something. This isn't just business for me. Bo Lane has been coasting on his father's reputation for 2 decades while running a good company into the ground. The employees deserve better leadership. What about the family members on payroll? What about them? His voice hardened. They've been stealing from their own company, from their employees' futures. Soleil Lane hasn't done a legitimate day's work in years, and Robin Lane's administrative role appears to consist entirely of planning office parties and ordering lunch. He pulled up a file on his computer. Look at this. The company's profit margin has dropped 60% in the past 5 years, while executive compensation has increased 40%. They're literally bleeding the business dry. My phone rang. Mom this time. Answer it, Talon said. Put it on speaker. Peyton, honey, where are you? Your father is beside himself. Someone from some consulting firm has been asking questions about the business. What kind of questions? Financial records, employee contracts, that sort of thing. Bo thinks someone might be trying to buy the company. Her voice cracked. With everything I'm going through health-wise, this stress is just too much. I looked at Talon, who was smirking. I'm sure it'll work out, Mom. Can you come home? We need to talk as a family. Soleil thinks we should hire a lawyer. A lawyer's not a bad idea. Really? Oh, thank goodness. I knew you'd help us figure this out. You always do. After I hung up, Talon leaned back in his chair. They have no idea, do they? None. Perfect. That gives us the advantage we need. He handed me another folder. These are the termination packages we're prepared to offer. Generous severance, positive references, the works, assuming they go quietly. I opened the folder. The severance amounts were fair, even generous, more than they deserved considering what they'd been doing. And if they don't go quietly, then we let King handle it. Criminal fraud charges, civil suits, public embarrassment, their choice. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text to me, Mom, Dad, and Soleil. Dad, family meeting tonight, 7 p.m. We need to discuss the situation at work. Soleil, I'll be there. This is serious. Mom, Peyton, please come home. We need you. I showed the messages to Talon. Well, he said, looks like you're going to have an interesting evening. I didn't go to their family meeting. Instead, I spent the evening in King's office, going through every financial document Meridian had pulled from Lane Industries. What I found made my stomach turn. Look at this, I said, pointing to a series of transfers on King's computer screen. SL Consulting received payments every month for the past 2 years, but there's no corresponding work product. No invoices, no deliverables, nothing. King leaned over my shoulder. That's not even the worst part. Check out these expense reports. He pulled up another file. Company credit card charges for designer handbags, spa treatments, and expensive dinners, all approved by Dad and categorized as business development or client entertainment. This one's my favorite, King said, clicking on a charge from last month. $1,500 at Nordstrom, labeled as professional wardrobe for client meetings. Soleil doesn't even work in the office regularly. Gets better, look at her timesheets. The records showed Soleil billing 40 hours a week, while her social media posts proved she was at yoga classes, brunches, and shopping trips during supposed work hours. This is fraud, I said. Textbook case, and it gets worse. King opened another folder. Your mother's been signing checks as an authorized signatory, but according to the corporate bylaws, she has no legal authority to do so. My phone had been buzzing all evening, 17 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic texts. Dad, where are you? We're waiting. Mom, Peyton, this isn't like you. Please call. Soleil, seriously, what's your problem? We need to stick together as a family. Dad, I'm driving to your apartment. We need to talk. Soleil, Dad says your place is empty. Where the hell are you? They're losing their minds, I told King. Good. Desperate people make mistakes. He pulled up another document. Speaking of mistakes, take a look at this. It was an email thread between Dad and someone named Marcus Hoffman, dated 3 weeks ago. Bo. The Meridian people have been sniffing around. Someone leaked that they're looking at acquisitions in our sector. We need to clean up the books before they get too deep. Marcus. Dad's response. Already on it. Soleil's handling the SL Consulting paperwork, and Robin's organizing the expense files. If anyone asks, everything was legitimate business expenses. They knew, I said. They've been covering their tracks for weeks. And now we have proof of obstruction. This just keeps getting better. My phone rang. Talon. How's the document review going? He asked. We found evidence they've been trying to hide the fraud. Email trail, the works. Excellent. Are you ready for tomorrow's announcement? Tomorrow. The official acquisition announcement. The moment my family would learn their world was ending. What's the timeline? Press release goes out at 9 a.m. Board meeting at Lane Industries at 10. You'll be introduced as the new transition manager at 11. They still don't know I'm involved? Not a clue. As far as they know, you disappeared into thin air. He chuckled. The look on their faces is going to be priceless. After hanging up, I stared at the evidence spread across King's desk. Years of theft, fraud, and manipulation. My family had been stealing from their own employees while living like royalty. You okay? King asked. Just processing everything. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. These people have been screwing over their workers for years. My phone buzzed with a new message. This time it was a group text that included someone I didn't recognize. Dad. Marcus, we have a problem. Peyton's missing and someone's been digging into our finances. Marcus. How missing? Soleil. Gone. Apartment's empty, won't answer calls. This can't be a coincidence. Mom. She wouldn't betray us. She's family. Dad. Family or not, we need to assume the worst. Start moving money out of the SL accounts tonight. Marcus. Already on it. But if they have forensic accountants, moving money now might make things worse. Soleil. So what do we do? Dad. Pray Peyton doesn't know anything and prepare for war. I screenshot the conversation and sent it to King. They're moving money, I said. King's fingers flew across his keyboard. Not anymore, they're not. I'm getting an emergency injunction to freeze all accounts associated with SL Consulting. They just handed us evidence of ongoing financial crimes. How long will that take? I can have it filed within the hour. By morning, every penny they've stolen will be locked down. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Peyton? The voice was male, unfamiliar. This is Marcus Hoffman. I'm a friend of your father's. I don't know who you are. I think you do. And I think you know exactly what's happening to your family's business. His tone was threatening. Whatever game you're playing, it ends now. I'm not playing any games. Your family is facing serious allegations. They need your support, not your betrayal. My family lied to me for months. They used me. They love you. Sometimes families make mistakes, but you don't destroy them over it. King was listening, taking notes. What do you want? I asked. Meet with me tomorrow morning, before any announcements, before any meetings. Let's see if we can work something out. Work what out? Your family's future, your future. Because if this goes public, everyone gets hurt, including you. The line went dead. King looked up from his notes. Marcus Hoffman. He's been helping them launder money through shell companies. We've been tracking him for weeks. He wants to meet. Of course he does. He's probably hoping to cut a deal. Maybe flip on your family to save himself. King grinned. This is perfect. We'll wire you up, get him on record admitting to the fraud. You want me to wear a wire? Unless you have a better idea for getting a confession. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Mom. Please, sweetheart, whatever's happening, we can fix it. Just come home. I looked at King. Set up the wire. The wire was smaller than I'd expected, a tiny device taped under my blazer that King assured me would pick up every word. We met Marcus at a diner on the south side, the kind of place where nobody asked questions, and the coffee was strong enough to wake the dead. Marcus was younger than I'd imagined, maybe 45, with the kind of nervous energy that came from knowing you were in deep trouble. Thank you for coming, he said as I slid into the booth across from him. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want? To help your family, and to help you understand what you're really dealing with here. He stirred his coffee with shaking hands. Meridian isn't just acquiring Lane Industries, they're destroying it. Every employee will be out of work within 6 months. That's not true. Isn't it? They've done this 12 times in the past 5 years. Buy a family business, strip it for parts, sell off the real estate, and walk away with millions while the workers get nothing. I kept my voice steady. What does this have to do with me? Your family made some mistakes with the books, yes, but they were trying to keep the company afloat. Your father's been paying employees out of his own pocket for months. By stealing from the company? Marcus leaned forward. By borrowing against future profits. The SL Consulting payments? That was money your sister earned legitimately, just structured differently for tax purposes. $90,000 for part-time social media work? She was developing a complete rebranding strategy, market research, competitive analysis, digital marketing campaigns. The work was real, Peyton. I almost laughed. Soleil's idea of market research was asking her friends which Instagram filter looked better. What about my mother's salary? Administrative oversight. She's been managing vendor relationships, coordinating with suppliers, handling HR issues. Your parents built that company from nothing, and now some corporate vultures want to tear it apart. So what are you proposing? Marcus pulled out a folder. We fight back. I've been working with your family to restructure their debt, clean up the accounting irregularities, and position the company for growth. With the right legal strategy, we can block this acquisition. How? Prove that Meridian obtained their information through illegal means, corporate espionage, bribery, fraud. I have evidence that they've been paying off Lane Industries employees for inside information. This was news to me. King hadn't mentioned anything about paying informants. What kind of evidence? Bank records, email communications, recorded phone calls, enough to tie up this acquisition in court for years. He slid the folder across the table. But I need your help. My help how? You're working for them now, aren't you? Meridian? My blood went cold. What makes you think that? Come on, Peyton. You disappear the same week they start their due diligence? You won't return your family's calls? Either you're working with them or you're the unluckiest person in Chicago. I didn't answer. I'm not judging you, Marcus continued. They probably offered you a lot of money, promised you revenge against your family for whatever grievances you have, but they're using you. Once they get what they need, you'll be just as disposable as everyone else. And what's your alternative? Help us prove Meridian's been operating illegally. In exchange, your family agrees to full financial transparency, legitimate restructuring, and professional management oversight. Everyone keeps their jobs, the company survives, and your family learns from their mistakes. It sounded reasonable, almost too reasonable. What do you need from me? Access to Meridian's internal communications, proof of how they obtained Lane Industries' financial records, evidence of any illegal surveillance or bribery. You want me to spy on my own employer. I want you to expose the truth. Your family made mistakes, but Meridian is the real criminal here. My phone buzzed. A text from King. How's it going? Getting anything useful? I ignored it. There's something else, Marcus said. Your family doesn't know you're working for Meridian. They think you're just struggling with everything that happened. Your mother's been crying for days, thinking she drove you away. My mother lied about having cancer. She was scared. The company's been in trouble for months, and she didn't want you to worry. It was stupid, yes, but it came from love. Love doesn't justify fraud, and corporate greed doesn't justify destroying a family business that employs 200 people. Marcus leaned back. Look, I know your family hurt you, but is revenge worth destroying the livelihoods of innocent workers? Another text from King. Anything yet? We need something concrete. I need time to think about this, I said. We don't have time. The acquisition announcement goes public in 3 hours. Once that happens, the stock price will tank, and your family will lose everything. Maybe they deserve to lose everything. Marcus studied my face. You really hate them, don't you? I don't hate them. I just don't trust them anymore. Fair enough, but ask yourself this. Who benefits from their destruction? Your family loses their business, their employees lose their jobs, and Meridian makes millions. Meanwhile, you get what? A paycheck and the satisfaction of watching your family suffer? He stood up and dropped a 20 on the table. The offer stands. Help us prove Meridian's corruption, and everyone wins. Refuse, and you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you chose money over family. After he left, I sat in the diner for another hour, staring at the folder he'd given me. Inside were bank statements, email printouts, and what looked like surveillance photos of Meridian employees meeting with people I didn't recognize. My phone rang. Talon. How did it go with our friend Marcus? He wants me to spy on you. Talon laughed. Of course he does. What did you tell him? That I'd think about it. Good. Let him think he has a chance. It'll make this afternoon's announcement even more satisfying. Talon, Is it true that Meridian pays employees for inside information? Where did you hear that? Marcus showed me some documents. Marcus Hoffman is a desperate man facing federal fraud charges. He'll say anything to save himself. Talon's voice hardened. Don't let him get in your head, Peyton. Your family chose their path long before you came along. After hanging up, I looked at the folder again. The evidence looked real, but then again, so had my mother's cancer diagnosis. In 2 hours, I'd be standing in a boardroom, watching my family's world collapse. The question was, did they deserve it? The Lane Industries boardroom hadn't been updated since the 80s. Wood paneling, burgundy carpet, and a conference table that had seen better decades. I stood at the back of the room, watching my family file in with their lawyer, a nervous-looking man who kept adjusting his tie. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Mom clutched his arm, playing the fragile invalid role even now. Soleil wore her most expensive suit, the one she'd charged to the company credit card. Thank you all for coming, Talon began from the head of the table. I'm Talon McCoy from Meridian Consulting. As of this morning, Meridian has completed the acquisition of Lane Industries. The color drained from Dad's face. What? That's impossible. We never agreed to sell. The board of directors voted unanimously last night. The sale was approved by a majority of shareholders. I am the majority shareholder, Dad said, his voice rising. King stepped forward with a folder. Actually, you control 43%. Your investors hold the remaining 57%, and they voted to accept Meridian's offer. Mom gripped Dad's arm tighter. This can't be legal. We have rights. You absolutely have rights, Talon agreed. Which brings us to the transition plan. Effective immediately, Lane Industries will be operating under new management structure. Their lawyer finally spoke up. My clients weren't given proper notice of this meeting. We demand... Your clients were notified according to corporate bylaws, King interrupted. Everything has been done by the book. Soleil was staring at her phone. The stock price just crashed. It's down 60%. Market volatility is normal during acquisitions, Talon said smoothly. Now, let's discuss the personnel changes. Personnel changes? Dad stood up. I built this company. My father started it 40 years ago. And it's been losing money for the past 5 years under your leadership. Talon nodded toward me, which is why we've brought in someone with the expertise to turn things around. All eyes turned to me as I stepped forward. Everyone, I'd like you to meet your new transition manager, Peyton. The silence in the room was deafening. Mom's mouth fell open. Dad looked like he'd been punched. Soleil just stared. Peyton? Mom whispered. What are you doing here? My job. Your job? Dad's voice cracked. You're working for them? I'm working for the future of this company. Soleil found her voice first. You backstabbing bitch. How could you do this to us? The same way you did it to me, with lies and manipulation. We're your family. Family doesn't fake terminal cancer to trap someone into being their servant. Mom started crying. Real tears this time, not the crocodile tears she'd been using for months. I can explain that, she said. I was scared about the business, and You laughed about it. Both of you. I heard you on that video call joking about what a sucker I was. Dad slumped back into his chair. Peyton, please, we can work this out as a family. We're not family anymore. I opened my own folder. We're employer and employees. And as your new manager, I have some concerns about your performance. Talon was smiling. This was exactly what he'd wanted, a public humiliation. Let's start with the financial irregularities, I continued. SL Consulting has received $90,000 over the past 2 years for work that was never completed. That's not true, Soleil protested. I did marketing work. You posted on Instagram and designed a brochure. That's not worth $90,000. The market rate for consulting, the market rate for fraud is $0 and potential jail time. Their lawyer was frantically taking notes. Then there's the expense account abuse, I continued. $1,500 at Nordstrom for professional wardrobe, $1,000 at a spa for stress management therapy, $2,000 at restaurants that you took Mom to for your anniversary dinners. Dad's face was red. Those were legitimate business expenses. For what business purpose? Client entertainment, team building, professional development. Which clients? Which team members? What professional skills were developed at the day spa? He had no answer. And Mom, I turned to her, $60,000 a year as administrative advisor for a position that doesn't exist in the corporate structure. I do administrative work, she said weakly. You plan office parties and order lunch. That's not worth $60,000. The room was silent except for Mom's quiet sobbing. Here's what's going to happen, I announced. Effective immediately, all three of you are terminated from Lane Industries. You'll receive standard severance packages and have 30 days to clear out your personal belongings. You can't do this, Dad said. I'll fight you in court. With what money? Your assets are frozen pending investigation of the financial irregularities. Soleil stood up so fast her chair fell over. This is insane. You've lost your mind. I've found my spine. There's a difference. We raised you. We loved you. We gave you everything. You gave me nothing but lies and manipulation, and now you're getting exactly what you deserve. Mom looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I really am sick, Peyton. Not cancer, but I have been having health problems. The stress of the business, the fear of losing everything. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your mother. My mother wouldn't have laughed about conning me out of my future. Talon stepped forward. Security will escort you out. Your personal items will be boxed and delivered. As they were led out, Dad turned back to me one last time. You think you've won, but you've just destroyed yourself. Family is all you have in the end, and you threw it away for money. No, I said. I threw it away for self-respect. The door closed behind them, and suddenly the room felt very quiet. Well, Talon said, that went better than expected. But as I watched my family disappear down the hallway, I wondered if Dad might be right about one thing. What exactly had I won? The news vans were parked outside my hotel by evening. Local family business, torn apart by corporate takeover, ran on 3 different channels, complete with interviews of laid-off employees and dramatic footage of Dad being escorted from his own building. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters, former family friends, even my college roommate wanting to know if the stories were true. I turned it off and ordered room service. The knock on my door came at 9 p.m. It's Mia, a voice called through the door. I opened it to find her holding a bottle of wine and looking concerned. Rough day? She asked, stepping inside. That's one way to put it. She poured 2 glasses and handed me one. The news is calling you everything from a corporate whistleblower to a heartless daughter. How are you holding up? Honestly, I don't know. I took a sip of wine. This morning, I felt like I was finally getting justice. Tonight, I just feel empty. Buyer's remorse is normal after something like this. Is it? Because I keep thinking about what my dad said, about family being all you have in the end. Mia sat down across from me. Can I tell you something? I went through something similar with my own family 5 years ago. Not corporate fraud, but they were stealing from me in other ways. Emotional manipulation, financial abuse, the works. What did you do? I cut them off, completely. And for about a year, I felt exactly like you do right now, empty, guilty, wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. And then I realized I wasn't mourning my family. I was mourning the family I'd always wanted them to be. The loving, supportive people I'd imagined they were underneath all the toxicity. Another knock interrupted us. This time it was King, looking unusually serious. "Sorry to bother you, but we have a problem," he said. "Marcus Hoffman just held a press conference." He turned on the TV. Marcus stood behind a podium, flanked by my parents and Soleil. "The Lane family has been the victim of a coordinated attack by Meridian Consulting," Marcus was saying. "We have evidence that Meridian used illegal surveillance and bribery to obtain confidential financial information." The camera panned to show Dad stepping up to the microphone. "My daughter Peyton was coerced into betraying her own family," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Meridian exploited her temporary anger over a family misunderstanding and turned her into a weapon against us." "Temporary anger?" I said to the TV. "Family misunderstanding?" Soleil took the microphone next. "Peyton has always been unstable, jealous of my success, resentful of our parents' love. Meridian found her at a vulnerable moment and manipulated her into this revenge fantasy." I felt Mia's hand on my shoulder. "My sister needs help," Soleil continued, tears streaming down her face. "Professional help, and we're prepared to forgive her if she comes forward and tells the truth about Meridian's illegal activities." The reporter asked a question I couldn't hear, and Mom stepped forward. "I love my daughter," she said. "I made mistakes as a mother, yes. I was overprotective, maybe too demanding, but I never stopped loving her. And I know that deep down, she still loves us too." King muted the TV. "They're trying to flip the narrative. Make you look like the villain and them like the victims. Will it work? Depends on what evidence Marcus actually has. If he can prove Meridian did anything illegal, it could complicate things." My phone, which I'd turned back on, started buzzing with notifications. Text messages, missed calls, social media mentions. I scrolled through a few. "Saw the news. Your family seems really hurt. Maybe you should talk to them." Sarah. "Girl, your sister is dragging you on Twitter. Might want to check that out." Jessica. "Is it true you're working for the company that destroyed your dad's business? That's cold even for you." Mike. "They're winning," I said. "Everyone thinks I'm the monster. Does it matter what everyone thinks?" Mia asked. "Doesn't it? Let me ask you this. If you could go back and change what you did, would you?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. The months of being their unpaid servant. The lies about Mom's cancer. The laughter when they thought I couldn't hear. The years of being taken for granted, overlooked, used. "No," I said. "I wouldn't change it." "Then you have your answer." King's phone rang. He answered, listened for a moment, then hung up with a grin. That was Talon. The FBI just arrested Marcus for wire fraud. Turns out his evidence against Meridian was fabricated. Bank records were forged, emails were doctored, the whole thing was fake. What does that mean for my family? It means their credibility just went down the toilet. And it means the fraud charges against them are sticking. The TV showed breaking news. Attorney arrested in Lane Industries case. Fabricated evidence alleged. I watched my family's faces as reporters shouted questions at them. Dad looked confused. Mom was crying again. And Soleil was screaming at someone off camera. "They're on their own now," King said. My phone rang. An unknown number. "Don't answer it," Mia warned. But I did anyway. "Peyton?" It was Dad, his voice barely a whisper. "I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but I need you to know something." "What?" "I'm proud of you." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" "You're stronger than I ever was. Stronger than I raised you to be. And maybe we deserved what happened today." "Dad, I have to go. The lawyers want to talk to us about plea deals. But Peyton? Whatever happens next, you're going to be fine. You always land on your feet." He hung up. I set the phone down and looked at Mia and King. "So what now?" I asked. "Now you decide what kind of person you want to be going forward," Mia said. "You can't go back to being their daughter. but you can choose who you become next. I walked to the window and looked down at the city lights. Somewhere out there, my family was probably huddled together, planning their next move, figuring out how to survive without the safety net they'd built from lies and stolen money. And for the first time in my life, that wasn't my problem to solve. I said, I want to be someone who builds things instead of tearing them down. Good choice, King said. Because Talon wants to offer you a permanent position, head of ethical restructuring, help companies clean up their acts instead of destroying them. I smiled. It felt strange on my face after everything that had happened, but it felt real. Tell him yes. Outside, the news vans were packing up, moving on to the next story. By tomorrow, most people would forget about the Lane family drama, but I would remember. Not as the daughter who destroyed her family, but as the woman who finally chose herself. And that was enough.
I should have known something was wrong when I found my laptop moved 3 inches to the left on my desk. But honestly, after working 14-hour days and coming home to a house full of people who treated me like their personal ATM, I barely had the energy to notice my own reflection in the mirror. My name is Zaylee, and 6 months ago, I thought I was being the perfect daughter and sister. My parents had lost their house after Dad's construction business went under, and my little sister Sydney was drowning in student debt with nowhere to go. So naturally, when I finally bought my dream house in the suburbs, a beautiful 3-bedroom with a home office that overlooked the garden, I opened my doors to all of them. Zaylee, we're out of groceries again, Mom called from the kitchen as I walked through the front door at 9 p.m., my laptop bag weighing down my shoulder like a brick. I just went shopping 3 days ago, I said, dropping my keys on the counter. Well, you know how Sydney eats when she's stressed about job hunting. Mom's voice carried that familiar tone, the one that somehow made everything my responsibility. I found Sydney sprawled across my living room couch, her boyfriend Emmett's arm draped around her shoulders. They were watching Netflix on my 75-inch TV, empty takeout containers scattered across my coffee table. Hey, sis, Sydney chirped, without looking away from the screen. How was work? Long, I said, noticing Dad asleep in my recliner, the one I'd saved up for months to buy. Did anyone think to maybe clean up the kitchen? Oh, we were going to, Emmett said, finally glancing up with that easy smile of his. But Sydney had a panic attack about her interview tomorrow, so we figured we'd handle it later. Sydney nodded dramatically. It's just so stressful, you know? Not everyone can be a workaholic like you. I bit back my response. Sydney had been job hunting for 4 months, but somehow her interviews always fell through, or the positions weren't quite right, or she needed more time to prepare. Meanwhile, I was pulling 60-hour weeks as a project manager at Innovate Solutions, trying to land the Morrison account that could make my career. Speaking of work, Emmett said, his voice casual but his eyes suddenly focused. How's that big project going? The one with all the client data? It's fine, I said, not wanting to get into details. Emmett worked for Pinnacle Tech, one of our biggest competitors, and even though he seemed harmless enough, I'd learned to keep work talk to a minimum. Must be tough handling all that sensitive information, he continued. I bet you have to work from home a lot, right here in your office? Something in his tone made me pause, but Sydney jumped in before I could think too hard about it. God, Emmett, you're as bad as she is with the work talk. Can we please just have one normal evening? Mom emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Zaylee, honey, you look exhausted. You really should consider slowing down. All this career obsession isn't healthy. My career obsession is what's keeping a roof over everyone's head, I said, immediately regretting the sharpness in my voice. The room went quiet. Dad stirred in the recliner but didn't wake up. We're grateful, Mom said softly. You know that. It's just, family should come first sometimes. Family is why I'm working so hard, I replied, grabbing a water bottle from the fridge. I'm going to get some work done upstairs. As I climbed the stairs to my office, I heard Sydney whisper something to Emmett, followed by quiet laughter. My chest tightened, but I pushed the feeling down. They were stressed, displaced, dealing with their own problems. I was being too sensitive. My office was my sanctuary, the one space in the house that was still completely mine. I'd set it up perfectly. Desk facing the window, files organized in color-coded folders, my awards and certifications hanging on the wall behind my chair. But something felt off. I set my laptop down and looked around. The desk chair was pulled out further than I usually left it. My pen holder was turned slightly. The stack of Morrison project files seemed different somehow. I shook my head. I was being paranoid. Living with 3 extra people meant things got moved around. It was normal. But as I opened my laptop and logged into the company system, my stomach dropped. My performance metrics were down 15% from last month. 3 of my key project milestones showed as missed, even though I'd submitted everything on time. And somehow Pinnacle Tech had just landed a client that sounded suspiciously similar to one I'd been courting for weeks. I stared at the screen, that familiar feeling of unease creeping up my spine. Something was definitely wrong. I just didn't know yet how wrong things really were. The Morrison account was gone by Thursday. I sat in the conference room, watching my boss Marcus deliver the news with the enthusiasm of someone announcing a funeral. Pinnacle Tech came in with a proposal that was remarkably similar to ours, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. But they undercut us by 30% and somehow knew exactly which features to highlight. That's impossible, I said. We've been working on Morrison for 3 months. How could they? I don't know, Zaylee, but the client said Pinnacle's presentation felt like they'd been inside our heads. The words hit me like a physical blow. Inside our heads. I thought about my disturbed office, my shifted files, Emmett's casual questions about my work. The promotion committee met this morning, Marcus continued. Given the recent performance issues, they've decided to go with Jenkins for the senior manager position. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Jenkins had been with the company 2 years less than me and had never landed an account bigger than $50,000. After the meeting, I found Tiffany waiting by my desk with 2 cups of coffee and a concerned expression. Rough morning? She asked, handing me a cup. You could say that. I slumped into my chair. Lost Morrison, lost the promotion, and apparently I'm having performance issues I didn't know about. Tiffany perched on the edge of my desk. That's weird. Your work has been solid. Better than solid. Tell that to the metric system. Have you been working from home more lately? She asked casually. Sometimes remote access can mess with the tracking software. I looked up at her. Why do you ask? I don't know, just, you seem stressed, more than usual. And last week when I called you at home, I could hear a lot of people in the background, sounded chaotic. My family's staying with me temporarily. Right. Tiffany sipped her coffee thoughtfully. How's that going? Fine, I said automatically, then caught her expression. Why? Nothing specific. It's just, sometimes when people are going through big life changes, things at work can get complicated. Before I could ask what she meant, my phone buzzed with a text from Sydney. Can you pick up dinner on your way home? Mom's making her special lasagna, but we need ingredients. Thanks. I showed Tiffany the message. See? They're making dinner. It's sweet. Mm-hmm. Tiffany's tone was carefully neutral. What kind of work do you do from your home office? Mostly client presentations, project planning. Why? Just curious. You've got good security on your home network, right? The question sent a chill through me. Of course. Why would you ask that? No reason. Just, with all the corporate espionage stuff in the news lately, you can never be too careful. That evening, I stopped at the grocery store and loaded my cart with ingredients for Mom's lasagna. $68 later, I pulled into my driveway to find Emmett's car parked in my usual spot. There she is, Mom called as I walked in with the bags. Our little breadwinner. The comment stung more than it should have. I set the groceries on the counter and started unpacking. How was work, honey? Dad asked from his permanent position in my recliner. Lost a big account today, I said, pulling out the ground beef. Oh no! Sydney appeared in the kitchen doorway. That's terrible. Was it that Morrison thing you've been obsessing over? I wasn't obsessing, I was working. Same difference with you, she said with a laugh. Emmett, come tell Zaylee about your good news. Emmett emerged from the living room grinning. Got a big promotion today. Senior account manager. Apparently I impressed the hell out of the client committee. My hands stilled on the grocery bag. Which client? Some manufacturing company. Morrison something? They loved our proposal. The can of tomatoes slipped from my fingers and hit the floor with a loud clang. Everyone turned to stare at me. You okay, sis? Sydney asked. Fine, I managed. Just tired. You work too hard, Mom said, taking the groceries from me. Go relax. We'll handle dinner. I walked upstairs on unsteady legs, my mind racing. Morrison Manufacturing. The same client. The same proposal that had felt like pinnacle was inside our heads. In my office, I stood in the doorway and really looked this time. The desk chair wasn't just pulled out, it was adjusted to a different height. My monitor was tilted at an angle I never used. The small plant on my windowsill had been moved 6 inches to the right. I walked slowly around the room, examining everything with new eyes. Behind my bookshelf, something caught the light. Something small and black, no bigger than a button, tucked between 2 books and aimed directly at my desk. My hand shook as I reached for it. It was warm to the touch, still recording. From downstairs, I heard laughter and the clink of wine glasses. Sydney's voice carried up the stairs. To Emmett's promotion, he totally deserves it after all his hard work. More laughter, the sound of a toast. I sat down heavily in my desk chair, the tiny camera burning in my palm like a coal. Everything clicked into place. The questions, the moved files, the impossible coincidences. My own family had been spying on me, and they were downstairs celebrating. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table at 3 a.m., staring at the tiny camera and planning my next move. Going downstairs and screaming at them would feel good for about 5 minutes, but it wouldn't get me answers. I needed to know how deep this went. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. Food poisoning, I told Marcus. Probably be out until Monday. After everyone left the house, Dad to his part-time handyman job, Mom to her book club, Sydney to another interview, I started my investigation. I found Dave through a mutual friend from college. He ran a small IT security business and agreed to meet me at a coffee shop downtown. So you think your house is bugged? He asked, stirring his latte. I know it is. I found this. I slid the camera across the table. Dave examined it with a small magnifying glass. Professional grade. Wireless transmission. Probably streams to a smartphone app. This isn't some Amazon spy gadget. Someone spent real money on this. Can you sweep my house? Sure, but I need to ask. Do you have any idea who might be doing this? I hesitated. Maybe. Can you also check if my laptop's been compromised? Bring it by my office this afternoon. I'll run a full diagnostic. Back home, I placed my own recording device, a small digital recorder I'd bought for work meetings, behind a picture frame in the living room. Then I waited. Sydney came home first, around 2 p.m., looking frustrated. How'd the interview go? I asked from the kitchen. Terrible. They asked all these technical questions I wasn't prepared for. She flopped onto the couch. I don't know why finding a job has to be so hard. Maybe because you're not actually looking for one, I said quietly. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just making conversation. Mom arrived an hour later, arms full of shopping bags. I thought we were trying to save money, I said, watching her unpack new throw pillows. These were on sale. Besides, this place needs some warmth. It's so sterile. It's my house. Of course it is, honey. I just think a little personality wouldn't hurt. When Dad got home, I suggested we order pizza for dinner. My treat, I said. We should celebrate Emmett's promotion properly. That's sweet of you, Mom said. You're being very understanding about everything. Everything? You know, the job loss, the promotion going to someone else. It must be hard. I smiled. I'm learning to roll with the punches. Emmett arrived as the pizza was being delivered. He seemed unusually cheerful, practically bouncing as he walked in. Good day? I asked. The best. My boss is really impressed with my recent work. Says I have a real talent for anticipating client needs. That's a useful skill, right? It's like I can read their minds or something. We gathered around the dining room table, and I made sure to keep the conversation light and friendly. I asked Emmett about his work, his future plans, his relationship with Sydney. We're thinking about getting our own place soon, he said, reaching for Sydney's hand. Now that I'm making better money? That's wonderful, I said. You've been so generous letting us stay here, Sydney added. But we don't want to overstay our welcome. Your family. You're always welcome. The lie tasted bitter, but I needed them comfortable. I needed them talking. After dinner, I excused myself to take a work call and went upstairs. Through my bedroom window, I watched Emmett and Sydney walk to his car. They stood there for 10 minutes, talking animatedly. I couldn't hear the words, but their body language was excited, conspiratorial. When they came back inside, I was already in bed with the lights off. The next morning, Dave called with his results. Your laptop's been compromised, he said. Someone installed remote access software about 4 months ago. They've been able to see everything, your screen, your files, even activate your camera and microphone. 4 months. That was right around when my family moved in. There's more. I found 2 additional cameras in your house. One in your living room, one in your kitchen. All the same professional-grade equipment. Can you tell where the feeds are going? Working on it. But Zaylee, whoever did this had physical access to your devices and your house. This is someone you trust. That evening, I sat in my office staring at my laptop screen. I'd left a fake document open, a proposal for a fictional client called Meridian Industries. If my suspicions were right, Pinnacle Tech would suddenly develop an interest in Meridian within the next few days. Around 10 p.m., I heard voices from downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. Told you this would work, Sydney was saying. She's so predictable. I still feel bad about it. Dad's voice quieter. Don't, Mom replied firmly. She's had every advantage. Good education, good job, this house. It's time Sydney got her turn. The bonus alone will cover our apartment deposit, Emmett said. And my boss hinted at another promotion if I keep delivering intel like this. Just make sure she doesn't get suspicious, Sydney said. She's been acting weird lately. She's fine, Mom said. Zaylee's always been too trusting. She'd never suspect her own family. I gripped the banister so hard my knuckles went white. Below me, they continued planning my professional destruction, like they were discussing the weather. How much longer do we need to keep this up? Dad asked. Until I'm established at Pinnacle, Emmett said. Maybe 6 more months. Then we can move out and she'll never know what happened. They laughed. Actually laughed. I walked back to my room and closed the door silently. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and started a new voice memo. Day 3 of investigation, I whispered. I have confirmation. They're all in on it. The recording device I'd hidden downstairs had captured everything, every word, every laugh, every casual discussion of my betrayal. Now I just had to decide what to do with it. I waited 3 more days, collecting evidence and planning my approach. When I finally decided to confront them, I made sure everything was perfect. Friday night, I suggested we have a family game night. That sounds lovely, Mom said, looking surprised. You've been so busy lately. I realized I've been neglecting what's really important, I said, setting up the recording app on my phone. Family should come first, right? We gathered in the living room with a bottle of wine and a deck of cards. I made sure my phone was positioned perfectly on the coffee table, hidden behind a decorative bowl, but with a clear view of everyone. So, Emmett, I said, dealing the cards, how's the new position working out? Great, really great. My boss says I have incredible instincts for what clients want. That's amazing. It's like you can predict their needs before they even know them. Exactly. He leaned forward, animated. Like this Morrison account, I knew exactly what they were looking for. Morrison? I kept my voice casual. Wasn't that the client I was working on? The room went quiet for a beat. Sydney jumped in quickly. What a coincidence, right? Same name, probably a different company. Must be, I agreed. Though it's funny, I lost that account the same week Emmett got his promotion. Life's weird like that, Dad said, not meeting my eyes. I poured more wine, making sure everyone's glasses stayed full. You know what I love about this family? We've always been honest with each other. Of course we have, Mom said, though her smile looked strained. Remember when we were kids, Sydney, and you broke Mom's vase? You could have blamed me, but you told the truth. Sydney laughed nervously. We were just kids. But the principle's the same. Family doesn't lie to family. I looked around the room. We don't betray each other. Why would you even bring that up? Sydney asked. No reason. Just thinking about trust lately. Like, if someone in this family was doing something that hurt me, they'd tell me, right? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Emmett shifted in his seat. Of course, Mom said finally. We'd never hurt you intentionally. Intentionally, I repeated. That's an interesting word choice. Zaylee, what's this about? Dad asked. I leaned back, studying their faces. I've been having problems at work. Lost clients, missed promotions. My boss thinks there might be a security breach. Emmett's face went pale. A security breach? Someone's been accessing confidential information. Client data, project plans, that sort of thing. That's terrible, Sydney said. Do they know who? They're investigating. Apparently it's someone with inside access, someone I trust. The room was dead silent now. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantel. The weird thing is, I continued, some of my files at home have been moved around. My office feels different lately. Maybe you're just stressed, Mom suggested. You work so much it's easy to forget where you put things. Maybe, or maybe someone's been going through my stuff. Emmett stood up abruptly. I should probably head home. Early morning tomorrow. Sit down, Emmett. My voice was calm but firm. We're having a family conversation. He sat back down reluctantly. Here's what I think happened, I said, pouring myself more wine. I think someone in this room has been spying on me, stealing my work, sabotaging my career. That's crazy, Sydney said, but her voice cracked. Is it? Because I found some interesting things this week. Cameras, for instance. Emmett's wine glass slipped from his hand, spilling red wine across my white coffee table. Oops, he said weakly. Don't worry about it, I said. I'll clean it up later, along with everything else. Zaylee, you're scaring us, Mom said. Am I? Because I'm not the one who should be scared right now. I reached for my phone and stopped the recording. Then I started a new one, this time holding it openly. Let me ask you directly, has anyone in this room been accessing my work computer? No one answered. Has anyone been photographing my documents? Still silence. Has anyone been feeding information to Pinnacle Tech? Emmett broke first. Look, it's not what you think. Emmett, shut up, Sydney hissed. No, let him talk, I said. Please, explain to me what I think. It was just, we needed the money. Sydney's student loans, your parents' situation. I thought if I could get ahead at work, I could help everyone. By destroying my career. It wasn't supposed to hurt you this much. Just a few clients, maybe slow down your promotions so Sydney could catch up. So Sydney could catch up. I looked at my sister. This was your idea? Sydney's face crumpled. You have everything, Zaylee. The house, the job, the perfect life. What's wrong with wanting some of that for myself? So you decided to steal it. We decided to level the playing field, Mom said, her voice defensive. You've always been the golden child. Sydney deserves her chance. By sabotaging me. By giving her the same advantages you've had, Dad said quietly. I looked around the room at these people I'd called family. How long has this been going on? 4 months, Emmett admitted. Since the day you moved in. We didn't plan it, Sydney said desperately. It just happened. Emmett mentioned he was struggling at work and I thought maybe you could help, and then we realized. You realized you could help yourselves to my life. It's not like that. I stood up, phone still recording. Actually, it's exactly like that. Where are you going? Mom asked. To my room, to think about what kind of family I really have. As I reached the doorway, I heard Sydney whisper to Emmett, Do you think she'll actually do anything? Then Mom's voice, bitter and low. She won't. She's too soft. She'll forgive us like she always does. Their laughter followed me up the stairs. I sat on my bed, staring at my phone. 43 minutes of recorded confession. Every detail, every justification, every casual dismissal of my pain. They thought I was too soft to fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Saturday morning, I drove to Dave's office with a folder full of evidence. Audio recordings, photos of the cameras, screenshots of my compromised laptop, even email timestamps showing when my files were accessed. This is solid, Dave said, reviewing everything. Corporate espionage, invasion of privacy, theft of intellectual property. You could press charges. I want to do something else first. What do you have in mind? I need you to help me put together a professional presentation, something that would impress a CEO. Dave raised an eyebrow. You're going after the boyfriend's company? I'm going after justice. That afternoon, I met Tiffany for coffee. She took one look at my face and ordered us both double shots. You look like you haven't slept in days, she said. I haven't. Tiffany, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. If someone betrayed you, really betrayed you, how far would you go to make it right? She stirred her coffee slowly. That depends. Are we talking about justice or revenge? What's the difference? Justice is about making things fair. Revenge is about making them hurt. She looked at me carefully. Which one are you after? I don't know anymore. Want to talk about it? I almost told her everything. The words were right there, ready to spill out. But something held me back. Hypothetically, I said instead, if you found out your family was sabotaging your career, what would you do? Tiffany's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. Your family? Hypothetically. Zaylee, is everything okay at home? Just answer the question. She set down her cup. Hypothetically? I'd be devastated. Family is supposed to be your safe place, you know? If you can't trust them, who can you trust? But what would you do about it? I'd probably confront them first. Try to understand why. Maybe there's something I'm missing. And if there wasn't? If they just didn't care about hurting you? Tiffany was quiet for a long moment. Then I guess I'd have to decide what kind of person I wanted to be. Someone who lets people walk all over them, or someone who stands up for themselves. Even if it meant losing your family? Honey, if they're willing to destroy you for their own gain, have you really lost anything worth keeping? Sunday evening, I sat in my home office, staring at my laptop screen. I'd drafted an email to William Mann, CEO of Pinnacle Tech. The subject line read, Urgent, corporate espionage involving your employee. My finger hovered over the send button. From downstairs, I could hear the TV and casual conversation. Sydney was laughing at something Emmett said. Mom was humming while she cooked dinner, in my kitchen with groceries I'd bought. They had no idea what was coming. I thought about Tiffany's question. Justice or revenge? Maybe there wasn't a difference. I clicked send. The response came faster than I expected. William Mann's assistant called Monday morning while I was getting ready for work. Mr. Mann would like to schedule a meeting with you at your earliest convenience, she said. He's very interested in discussing the information you provided. How about today at lunch? Perfect. 1 o'clock at his office. I spent the morning at work, pretending everything was normal. When Marcus asked how I was feeling, I told him I was much better and ready to tackle new projects. Good to hear. We've got the Meridian Industries proposal coming up. Think you can handle it? I almost smiled. Absolutely. At 12:45, I walked into Pinnacle Tech's downtown office building. The lobby was all glass and steel, designed to intimidate. I wasn't intimidated. William Mann was younger than I'd expected, maybe mid-40s, with the kind of sharp suit that cost more than most people's rent. He shook my hand firmly and gestured to a chair across from his desk. Ms. Whitney, thank you for coming in. I have to say, your email was quite disturbing. I imagine it was. Before we proceed, I need to ask, are you absolutely certain about these allegations? I pulled out my folder and placed it on his desk. Audio recordings, video evidence, digital forensics report, everything's documented. He spent 20 minutes reviewing the materials, his expression growing darker with each page. This is extensive, he said finally, and extremely damaging. If what you're saying is true, Emmett has committed multiple felonies. It's true. Why bring this to me instead of the police? Because I want to give you the chance to handle it internally first. Clean up your company's reputation before this becomes a public scandal. He leaned back in his chair. What do you want from me? I want Emmett fired. I want him blacklisted from the industry. And I want it done in a way that sends a message to anyone else who might think corporate espionage is acceptable. That's quite a request. It's quite a crime. William Mann was quiet for a long moment, then reached for his phone. Sarah, cancel my afternoon meetings, and get me legal on the line immediately. He looked at me. Ms. Whitney, would you be available to stay for another hour? I think we need to discuss the details of how we're going to handle this. I have all the time in the world. As his assistant brought in coffee and legal documents, I thought about my family at home, probably planning their evening around my paycheck and my generosity. They had no idea their world was about to collapse, but they would soon. One more question, William said, as his lawyers filed into the room. Do you want to be present when we confront Emmett? I smiled for the first time in weeks. Actually, I have a better idea. Tuesday evening, I stopped at the grocery store and bought everything for the most elaborate dinner I'd ever planned. Filet mignon, lobster tails, expensive wine, chocolate cake from the bakery. The cashier looked at me like I was planning a wedding. Special occasion, she asked. You could say that. At home, I found everyone in their usual positions. Dad in my recliner, Mom reorganizing my kitchen cabinets, Sydney and Emmett cuddled on my couch. What's all this? Mom asked, seeing the grocery bags. I wanted to make a special dinner for everyone, to apologize for being so moody lately. You don't need to apologize, Sydney said, though she looked pleased. We understand you're stressed about work. That's just it. I realized I've been looking at everything wrong. Work isn't the most important thing. Family is. Emmett perked up. That's a healthy perspective, right? I mean, what's the point of success if you can't share it with the people you love? I started unpacking the groceries, making a show of the expensive ingredients. I thought we could celebrate your promotion properly, Emmett. You've worked so hard for it. That's really sweet of you, he said, and for a moment he almost looked guilty. Plus, I have some good news of my own. Remember that Meridian Industries account I mentioned? We landed it today. Huge commission. The lie rolled off my tongue easily. I watched Emmett's face carefully. Sure enough, his eyes lit up with interest. Meridian Industries? He asked casually. What kind of company are they? Tech manufacturing. Very innovative stuff. The contract details are fascinating. I bet. What kind of details? Oh, proprietary technology, client databases, expansion plans, the usual. I smiled innocently. I'll probably be working on it from home this week. Lots of confidential documents to review. I caught the quick glance he exchanged with Sydney. Hook, line, and sinker. Well, we should definitely celebrate, Mom said. Both of your successes. Absolutely. Dinner will be ready at 7. I want everyone dressed up. This is a special night. I spent the afternoon cooking, humming while I worked. Every few minutes, my phone buzzed with updates from William Mann's assistant. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. At 6:30, I set the dining room table with my good china and lit candles. The whole house smelled like expensive food and fresh flowers. "This is incredible," Sydney said, appearing in a dress I'd never seen before. "You really went all out." "Only the best for my family." Dad emerged from upstairs wearing an actual button-down shirt instead of his usual t-shirt. "Smells amazing in here." "Where's Mom?" "Getting ready. She's excited. She loves when we do fancy dinners." Emmett arrived at exactly 7, carrying a bottle of wine and wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. "You clean up nice," I told him. "Thanks. This is really thoughtful of you, Zaylee. I know things have been tense lately." "Water under the bridge. Tonight's about moving forward." Mom made her grand entrance in a black dress with jewelry I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. "My goodness, this looks like a restaurant." "Better than a restaurant," I said, pouring wine for everyone. "This is family." We sat down to dinner, and I made sure to keep the conversation light and celebratory. I asked Emmett about his future plans at Pinnacle, complimented Sydney on her dress, thanked my parents for all their support. "You seem different tonight," Sydney observed. "More relaxed." "I feel different, like I've finally figured out what really matters." "Which is?" "Loyalty, trust, making sure the people who deserve good things actually get them." Emmett raised his glass. "I'll drink to that." "To getting what we deserve," I agreed, clinking my glass against his. As we ate, I regaled them with stories about my fake Meridian project, dropping just enough technical details to sound convincing. I could see Emmett filing away every word. "The client database alone is worth millions," I said, cutting into my steak. "All their competitor information, market research, future product plans. It's like having a crystal ball for the entire industry." "Sounds valuable," Emmett said. "Incredibly valuable. The kind of information that could make or break a company." "You'll have to be careful with security," Dad said. "That kind of data would be tempting to the wrong people." "Oh, I'm being very careful about who I trust," I said, looking directly at Emmett. "Very careful indeed." By dessert, everyone was relaxed and laughing. The wine had done its job. Their guards were completely down. "This has been perfect," Mom said, squeezing my hand. "Just like old times." "Better than old times," I said, "because now we all know exactly where we stand with each other." "What do you mean?" Sydney asked. "I mean we're past all the pretending, all the games. Everything's out in the open now." Before anyone could ask what I meant, Emmett's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "Sorry, it's my boss. I should probably—" "Take it," I said, smiling. "We don't mind." He answered the call, and I watched his face change as he listened to the voice on the other end. "What? No, that's impossible. I'm at dinner with—" He looked around the table, his eyes wide with growing panic. "Can this wait until tomorrow?" The voice on the phone got louder. Even from across the table, I could hear William Mann's angry tone. "Put it on speaker," I said cheerfully. "We're all family here." Emmett's hand was shaking as he pressed the speaker button. "Expect you in my office immediately." William's voice filled the dining room. "We have some very serious allegations to discuss." The color drained from Emmett's face. Around the table, my family sat frozen, forks halfway to their mouths. "Allegations?" Emmett's voice cracked. "Corporate espionage, Mr. Stewart. We have evidence that you've been stealing confidential information from a competitor. The authorities have been notified." Sydney dropped her fork. It clattered against her plate like a gunshot. I took a sip of wine and smiled. Surprise! The silence that followed was deafening. Emmett stared at his phone like it might explode. "Mr. Stewart?" William's voice crackled through the speaker. "Are you there?" Yes, sir. I'm here." "Good. As I was saying, we have audio recordings, video evidence, and digital forensics proving you've been accessing confidential information from Innovate Solutions through illegal surveillance. You have 30 minutes to get to my office, or I'm calling the police directly. Emmett's eyes darted around the table, landing on me last. Zaylee? Oh, don't look at me like that, I said, cutting another piece of cake. You should probably go. Sounds important. You did this. His voice was barely a whisper. I did what? Had dinner with my family? The recordings? The evidence? What recordings? Sydney interrupted, her voice shrill. What is he talking about? William's voice cut through the confusion. Ms. Whitney provided us with extensive documentation of your corporate espionage operation, 4 months of stolen data, compromised systems, and illegal surveillance equipment. Mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. Zaylee, what is happening? What's happening, I said calmly, is that actions have consequences. You knew? Dad's voice was hollow. This whole time, you knew? I found the cameras a week ago. The laptop compromise, the stolen client information, all of it. I looked around the table at their horrified faces. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? But you acted so normal, Sydney whispered. I'm a very good actress when I need to be. Emmett suddenly stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. I have to go. I have to explain. Explain what? I asked. That you planted surveillance equipment in my house? That you stole confidential client data? That you destroyed my career for your own benefit? It wasn't supposed to hurt you this much. Oh, well, that makes it all better then. Mr. Stewart, William's voice boomed from the phone. 25 minutes. Don't make this worse for yourself. The call ended, leaving us in suffocating silence. Zaylee, please, Mom said, tears streaming down her face. There has to be some way to fix this. Fix this? I laughed, and the sound was sharp enough to cut glass. You want me to fix the mess you made? We're family. Family doesn't spy on each other. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't celebrate destroying each other's lives. Sydney was sobbing now. We didn't mean for it to go this far. You meant for it to go exactly this far. You just didn't mean to get caught. What's going to happen to Emmett? She asked. He's going to be fired, probably prosecuted, definitely blacklisted from every tech company in the city. I took another sip of wine. What did you think would happen when you decided to commit felonies? Emmett was pacing now, running his hands through his hair. There has to be something we can do, some way to make this right. You could have made it right 4 months ago, by not doing it in the first place. Zaylee, please, Dad said. He's just a kid who made a mistake. He's 27 years old, and this wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated plan to destroy my career. For us, Sydney screamed. He did it for us, because we needed help. He did it for money. You all did it for money. That's not true. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from Friday night. Their own voices filled the room, casual and cruel. She's too soft. She'd never suspect her own family. She'll forgive us like she always does. When the recording ended, Sydney was hyperventilating. You recorded us? I recorded criminals confessing to crimes. There's a difference. We're your family, Mom shouted. No, I said, standing up. Family protects each other. Family supports each other. Family doesn't plot each other's destruction over dinner. In the distance, sirens wailed, getting closer. Emmett's face went white. They called the police. Of course they did. Corporate espionage is a federal crime. Zaylee, you have to help us, Sydney begged. You have to tell them it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding! I stared at her in disbelief. You systematically sabotaged my career for 4 months. You celebrated every client I lost, every promotion that got taken away. You laughed about it. The sirens were getting louder. Please, Mom whispered. We'll leave. We'll never bother you again. Just don't let them arrest him. You're going to leave anyway, all of you. Tonight. Where are we supposed to go? Dad asked. I don't care. Figure it out the same way you figured out how to betray me. The sirens stopped outside my house. Car doors slammed. Emmett looked at me one last time. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. The doorbell rang. That's for you, I said, pointing toward the front door. As Emmett walked toward his fate, Sydney grabbed my arm. How could you do this to us? I looked down at her hand, then back at her tear-streaked face. Very easily, as it turns out. The police knocked again, more insistently this time. Emmett Stewart? I heard through the door. We have a warrant for your arrest. I walked to the front door and opened it, stepping aside to let the officers in. He's in the dining room, I said. Finishing dinner. As they led Emmett away in handcuffs, he looked back at me one more time. This isn't over, he said. I smiled. Yes, it is. The house felt different after they left. Bigger somehow, like it could finally breathe again. I spent the rest of the evening cleaning up the dinner dishes and broken wine glass, methodically erasing every trace of what had happened. By midnight, my dining room looked normal again, as if the most satisfying meal of my life had never occurred. Wednesday morning, I went to work early. Marcus was already at his desk when I arrived at 7 a.m. You're here early, he said, looking surprised. Couldn't sleep. Too excited about the Meridian project. About that, I got a strange call yesterday. Pinnacle Tech wanted to discuss a potential partnership on a Meridian Industries account, but when I looked into it, there's no record of any company by that name. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. That's because I made it up. Marcus stared at me. You what? Long story, but I think you'll find that our security issues are about to resolve themselves permanently. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding. Tiffany arrived an hour later with coffee and a concerned expression. You look different today, she said, studying my face. Different how? I don't know. Lighter? Like you've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. That's surprisingly accurate. Want to talk about it? I considered telling her everything, but some stories were too personal to share, even with friends. Let's just say I solved my family problem. The hypothetical one? It wasn't hypothetical. Tiffany sat on the edge of my desk. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm free. That afternoon, William Mann called personally. Ms. Whitney, I wanted to update you on the situation. Emmett has been terminated and will face federal charges. Our legal team is also pursuing civil damages. Good. There's something else. We're impressed with how you handled this situation. Professional, thorough, decisive. We have an opening for a senior project manager, and we'd like to discuss it with you. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity. Better salary, better benefits, and a company that values integrity. I looked around my current office, thinking about all the years I'd spent here, all the clients I'd lost, all the promotions that had been stolen from me. When can we meet? Friday evening, I was alone in my house for the first time in 6 months. I ordered Chinese takeout, opened a bottle of wine, and sat in my living room, my actual living room, not a space I was sharing with people who hated me. The doorbell rang around 8. I opened it to find Sydney standing on my porch, looking smaller and younger than I'd ever seen her. Can I come in? No. Please, I just want to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Emmett's in jail. He can't make bail. I know. Mom and Dad are staying at a motel. They can't afford an apartment. Not my problem. Sydney's face crumpled. How can you be so cold? We're your family. You were my family, past tense. One mistake doesn't erase 29 years. I stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind me. It wasn't one mistake, Sydney. It was 4 months of deliberate, calculated betrayal. It was celebrating my failures. It was laughing about how naive I was to trust you. We were desperate. So was I. I was desperate for my family to love me enough not to destroy me. We do love you. No, you love what I could provide. There's a difference. Sydney wiped her nose with her sleeve. What are we supposed to do now? The same thing I did when I was your age and had nothing. Figure it out. I don't know how. Then learn. The way I had to learn, without anyone's help. Please, Zaylee, I'm begging you. I looked at this person who shared my DNA but had never shared my values, my work ethic, or my loyalty. You made your choice when you decided to betray me. Now, live with it. I went back inside and locked the door. Sunday morning, I was drinking coffee in my kitchen when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? This is Detective Rodriguez with the Financial Crimes Unit. We're investigating the corporate espionage case involving Emmett Stewart. How can I help you? We need to discuss your testimony for the grand jury. Are you available to come in this week? Absolutely. After I hung up, I sat in my quiet kitchen and realized something had shifted inside me. The anger was gone. The hurt was fading. What remained was something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. My phone buzzed with another text from Sydney. Mom's in the hospital. Heart palpitations from stress. She's asking for you. I read it twice, then deleted it. Some bridges, once burned, were meant to stay that way. I finished my coffee, got dressed, and drove to the office. I had a resignation letter to write and a new life to start. The house would be quiet when I got home, but it would be mine. Every room, every corner, every breath of air would belong to me and no one else. For the first time in my adult life, that felt like enough. It felt like everything.
The textile mill has its own heartbeat after sunset. I rest my palm against a warm machine, feeling the steady thrum beneath my skin as the last workers filter out. The sharp, electric scent of hot cotton fills my lungs, a smell that means home more than the sprawling house up on the hill ever has. You should head up soon, Sydney calls from the doorway. Your mother's been asking for you. I nod, flexing my raw, indigo-stained hands. 12 hours on the floor, and my shoulders feel like concrete, but there's peace in the work, in knowing every inch of this place that's been in our family for 4 generations. Just giving the night shift their instructions, I say, though we both know I'm stalling. Sydney's known me since I was small enough to hide behind the yarn racks. She gives me a look that says she sees right through me. The walk up to the offices feels longer than usual. Mother's amber perfume hits me before I even reach the door, that sickly sweet cloud she wraps herself in when she's about to do something unpleasant. My sister Lacey is already inside, perched on the edge of a leather chair like she might bolt at any moment. Father stands by the window, hands clasped behind his back. Finally, Mother says, not looking up from her desk. Do sit down, Jade. We have something to discuss. I remained standing, my work boots heavy on the polished floor. What's this about? We're selling the company. Father's voice is gentle, apologetic. The paperwork will be finalized next week. The room tilts sideways. What? It's a very generous offer, Mother continues, shuffling papers with manicured fingers. The buyers will retain most of the current staff, of course, though they'll want to modernize operations considerably. Modernize? My voice sounds strange in my ears. We just upgraded the entire dye house last year. I oversaw it myself. Yes. Well. She sighs. That was perhaps premature, but what's done is done. I've spent my whole life learning this business. Every department, every process. I dropped out of college to help when the recession hit. I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. And we appreciate your enthusiasm. Mother's lips curve in what might be a smile. But this is a family decision. I am family. Jade, Father starts, but Mother cuts him off with a sharp gesture. The decision is made. You'll be compensated fairly for your time here, of course. Perhaps you can finally finish that business degree you started. My hands are shaking. I look at Lacey, but she's studying the carpet with suspicious intensity. She's never spent more than an hour at a time in the mill, too busy with her photography and gallery openings. But she's always been Mother's favorite, carefully sheltered from anything resembling real work. This isn't right, I say. Great Aunt Greta wanted the mill to stay in the family. It was in her will. Something flickers across Mother's face. Too quick to read. You needn't concern yourself with the legal details. Everything is being handled appropriately. By who? Louisa? We've engaged different counsel for this transaction. She stands, smoothing her silk blouse. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have calls to make. Lacey, darling, don't forget we have dinner with the Harrises tonight. The dismissal stings like a slap. I watch them file out, Mother leading, Lacey trailing behind like a shadow, Father pausing in the doorway as if he might say something before thinking better of it. The amber perfume lingers, cloying and thick in my throat. Through the window, I can see the mill lights coming on for night shift. The machines will keep humming, keep breathing that hot cotton smell, but soon they won't be ours anymore. Won't be mine, though they feel like they are. Right down in my bones. I pull out my phone and scroll to a number I haven't called in years. If Mother's not using our regular lawyer for this, there has to be a reason. And Louisa has known our family longer than I've been alive. My fingers hover over the call button as the last of the sunset bleeds away outside. Something isn't right here, and I'm going to find out what. You'll love Bali, Lacey chirps, trailing me through the design archive. The light there is just incredible. I did a whole series on local textile artists last spring, remember? I run my fingers over the sample books, decades of our family's work preserved in neat rows. I remember you posted a lot of sunset photos from your resort. Don't be like that. She sighs, perching on a filing cabinet. This could be good for everyone. You work too hard anyway. Some of us have to. The words come out sharper than I meant them, and I see her flinch, but I'm too raw to soften them, especially with Mother's announcement still ringing in my ears. I pull out a binder from 2019, finding the wool sample I developed during my first year as design director. The texture is rough under my fingertips, like fine sandpaper. It took months to perfect that blend. Mother says you're being difficult about the sale, Lacey continues. She's trying to do what's best for the family. Which family? The one that actually works here or the one that shows up for photo ops? That's not fair. I contribute in my own way. I laugh. Right, by documenting our quaint industrial heritage for your Instagram. Girls? Father appears in the doorway, bearing a tea tray like a peace offering. I thought we might take a break. The china clinks as he sets it down, his hands less steady than usual. Mother sweeps in behind him, amber perfume announcing her presence before she speaks. Jade, darling, you really must stop going through those old records. The buyers will handle all the archiving. These are our designs, our history. They're business assets, she corrects, accepting a cup from Father. The spoon chimes against fine porcelain as he stirs, a steady tick-tick-tick that makes my teeth ache. And speaking of business, we need to discuss your role during the transition. My role is running this mill. My name is on the original charter. Mother's laugh is sudden, metallic. Oh, sweetheart, is that what you think? Something in her tone makes my skin prickle. I've seen the documents. Great Aunt Greta made sure. Your great aunt, Mother cuts in, made certain arrangements. But I assure you, your name is not on anything of consequence. I've read the charter. Have you? She sets down her cup with a sharp click. Recently. Father's stirring gets faster, though his tea must be thoroughly mixed by now. Lacey slides off the cabinet, edging toward the door. What did you do? My voice sounds distant, even to myself. Nothing that wasn't necessary. Mother examines her manicure. Your great aunt had some rather outdated ideas about succession. We simply protected the family's interests. By erasing me from the documents? By ensuring the business would be managed appropriately. She stands, brushing invisible dust from her skirt. Really, Jade, did you think we'd let you inherit everything just because you enjoy playing with the machinery? This is a multi-million-dollar company, not some craft project. The wool sample is still in my hand. I focus on its rough texture, anchoring myself against the vertigo of her words. Playing? I've run this place for 3 years while you were off at charity luncheons. Under supervision, she says, with guidance, and now it's time for a change. I won't let you do this. It's already done. She moves to the door, then pauses. Oh, and I'll need your key card by Friday. The buyer's team will be doing their final walkthrough. Father finally stops stirring. Claire, perhaps we should... Not now, Rolando. Her voice could freeze mercury. Lacey, come along. We'll be late for the photographer. I watch them go, mother gliding, Lacey scurrying, father lingering just long enough to give me a helpless glance before following. The tea sits untouched, growing cold. The wool sample is crumpled in my fist now, its careful weave distorted. I smooth it out, trying to restore its shape, but the damage is done. Like so many things, it won't be the same again. My phone feels heavy in my pocket. Louisa's number is still there, waiting. Mother's words echo in my head. Your name is not on anything of consequence. But why would she say that if she wasn't worried about something? The attic air is thick with dust and memory. I sneeze, shifting another box of yellowed papers, my flashlight beam catching motes that swirl like snow. Mother never comes up here. Too much dirt, too many spider webs for her silk blouses. But I remember hiding among these boxes as a child, reading old ledgers while everyone searched the house below. My thumb catches on a sharp edge and I hiss, a bright bead of blood welling up. These papers are brittle, eager to bite. But I keep digging because somewhere in these boxes is the truth Mother doesn't want me to find. Property deeds, tax records, ancient receipts for machinery long since replaced. The paper smells of mildew and age, making my throat tight. A photo falls out, Lacey and me as children, her in a pristine party dress, me in overalls stained with machine oil. Even then, the patterns were set. But where is it? My birth certificate should be here with the other family documents. I remember seeing it years ago, tucked into a folder with my vaccination records. But that folder is suspiciously empty now. A floorboard creaks downstairs and I freeze, heart hammering. But it's just the house settling, groaning with age like everything else in my life. I turn back to the search, more urgent now. The pieces are starting to form a picture I don't want to see. The way I was never allowed to sign for business loans, how Mother always handled the legal paperwork herself, the convenient way important documents seem to get misplaced whenever I asked questions. My phone feels like it's burning a hole in my pocket. I've been avoiding this call, but the empty folder in my hands leaves me no choice. I dial before I can talk myself out of it. Louisa Fowler speaking. It's Jade. My voice sounds rough, dusty like everything else up here. I need your help. A pause. I was wondering when you'd call. They're selling the mill. I know. She sighs. They've already moved the paperwork to another firm. That's not all. I swallow hard. I can't find my birth certificate, any of my original documents, actually, and I'm starting to think that's not an accident. The silence stretches so long, I wonder if we've lost connection. When Louisa speaks again, her voice is carefully neutral. How long have you suspected? I didn't. Not until Mother said something about my name not being on anything of consequence. But you've known, haven't you? I had concerns over the years, but without proof. Help me find it. The words come out somewhere between a demand and a plea. You've been our lawyer since before I was born. You must have copies of something. It's not that simple. Papers shuffle in the background. If what I suspect is true, this goes beyond missing documents. We're talking about potential fraud, identity theft, possibly even tax evasion. My cut thumb throbs. I don't care what it takes. They can't just erase me. This will get ugly, she warns. Your mother won't go down without a fight, and it will take time, months, maybe years, to unravel everything. The sale closes next week. Then we'd better start now. More shuffling. I need you to document everything, every conversation, every memory of suspicious behavior, and don't let them know you're looking. The moment they realize you're onto them, they'll destroy whatever evidence is left. I finish. I understand. Be careful, Jade. Your mother? She's not as elegant as she pretends to be. When cornered, she's more likely to burn everything down than surrender gracefully. I look at the photo again. 2 sisters, one pristine, one stained. Both of us smiling, not knowing what was coming. Let it burn, I say. I'm done playing by their rules. After I hang up, I sit in the dusty silence, listening to the house creak and settle. Somewhere below, Mother is probably planning her victory celebration, confident in her control. She doesn't know I'm up here, piecing together her lies in the dark. I tuck the empty folder into my jacket. Evidence, Louisa said. Everything is evidence now. The paper cut has stopped bleeding, but it still stings. Good. I need to stay sharp, because this isn't just about the mill anymore, it's about my entire life, and the truth that's been hidden in these boxes all along. Sydney finds me in the sample room, methodically photographing old production logs with trembling hands. She sets down a battered cardboard box, dust puffing up as it hits the desk. Thought you might want these, she says. For memories. Not evidence, of course. She winks, but there's worry in the creases around her eyes. Thanks. I try to smile. Mother's having everything archived off-site tomorrow. Archived? Right, Sydney snorts. More like buried where nobody can find it. The box is a time capsule of mill life, fabric swatches from discontinued lines, Polaroids of long-gone employees, maintenance records written in my father's messy scrawl before Mother took over the books. Each item feels both precious and dangerous now, like handling live ammunition. Oh, this is sweet, Sydney says, pulling out a faded Valentine's card. The red construction paper is soft with age, decorated with wobbly heart stickers. Must be from when you were little. My throat tightens. I remember that card. It disappeared from my keepsake box years ago. I always thought Lacey took it. Looks like someone found it. She hands it over carefully, like it might crumble. The front has a typical child's Valentine design. Hearts, flowers, probably from some school exchange. But it's the inside that makes my hands go cold. The main message is in crayon, clearly written by a kid. To Janine, Happy Valentine's Day. Janine, not Jade. Below that, in unfamiliar adult handwriting, someone has added in faded ink, Never forget who you are. The card smells faintly of dried roses, probably from being stored with other Valentine's memorabilia, but there's something else about it that makes my skin prickle. Something wrong. I don't remember getting this, I say slowly. I mean, I remember having it, but not who gave it to me. Sydney leans closer. Could be from anyone in your class that year. But why would they write Janine? She frowns. Maybe they got confused with another student? Maybe. But my heart is racing now. I slip the card into my pocket, trying to look casual. Hey, were you here when I started school? Would have been 25 years ago? Started a few years after that. She pauses. But you know who was here then? Louisa. She used to bring you candy when she came for meetings. I touch the card through my pocket. Did she? Oh, yeah. You'd hide under her desk while your mother was going over contracts. Sydney starts repacking the box. Funny how some things stick in your memory, isn't it? Funny, I echo. The card feels like it's burning through my jacket. A door slams somewhere in the building and we both jump. Mother's voice drifts up from below, sharp with irritation about something. I should go, Sydney says quickly, before Her Majesty decides I'm interfering with the transition process again. She hurries out, leaving me with the box of memories and questions I'm afraid to ask. I pull out the card again, studying the mysterious message. The ink has faded to brown, but the words are clear. Never forget who you are, not who you were, who you are. My phone buzzes, a text from Louisa. Found something. Meet tomorrow. Usual place. I type back, yes, with shaking fingers, then slip the card back into my pocket. Mother's voice is getting closer, the click of her heels on hardwood like a countdown. I grab the box and shove it under a shelf just as she appears in the doorway. Her eyes narrow at my guilty start. What are you doing up here? Just saying goodbye. I gesture at the sample room. Lots of memories. Memories won't pay the bills, she says crisply. The archival team needs this space cleared by morning. She waits until I leave, then locks the door behind us. But she doesn't know about the box hidden under the shelf or the card in my pocket with its impossible message. Janine, I think. The name feels strange, like trying on someone else's clothes. But maybe they're clothes that used to be mine. The card's rose scent follows me down the hallway, a ghost of something I can't quite remember. But I will. Soon. The laundry room has always been my sanctuary. While Mother avoided its industrial humidity and Lacey complained about the chemical smells, I found peace among the giant washers and their rhythmic churning. Now, searching through the blueprint storage cabinets by their warm bulk, I catch a whiff of something sharp beneath the usual detergent scent. Bleach. The newest set of design blueprints has strange, pale spots along one edge, ghost white circles where the paper should be blue. I trace them with my finger, frowning. These were fine yesterday. The door bangs open behind me. Mother stands silhouetted in the doorway, and that same bleach smell rolls off her in waves, cutting through her amber perfume. What do you think you're doing? Her voice has a brittle edge I've never heard before. Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. I hold up the damaged blueprint. These are original documents. We need them for the transfer. Are you accusing me of something? Should I be? She steps closer, heels clicking on concrete. You've been acting erratic lately, sneaking around, going through old files. The buyers are concerned about potential sabotage. A laugh bubbles up before I can stop it. Sabotage? That's rich, coming from someone who's been falsifying documents for decades. Her face goes still. I don't know what you're talking about. My birth certificate is missing. Actually, all my original documents are missing. Convenient, isn't it? You're being paranoid. Am I? The Valentine's card shifts in my pocket as I move, and her eyes snap to it instantly. The recognition in her gaze makes my blood run cold. We both freeze, the washers humming in the background like held breath. The game has changed, and we both know it. Where did you get that? Her voice is barely above a whisper. Does it matter? The truth was bound to come out eventually. She moves so fast I barely see it, manicured hand shooting out to grab the card. I step back, bumping into the cabinet. Give it to me. The bleach smell is overwhelming now. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Actually, I think I do. You changed my name. Probably other documents too. The question is why? I did what was necessary. Her fingers flex like claws. To protect this family. From what? From me? From your great aunt's ridiculous notions about legacy. Her lip curls. She would have handed everything over to you, a child who didn't even share our blood, everything we built, given to a stranger's daughter. The words hit like a physical blow. What? Oh, don't act surprised. Why do you think you look nothing like Lacey? Why do you think we never showed you baby pictures? Her laugh is sharp as broken glass. Greta forced us to take you in, made it a condition of her will, but she couldn't force us to let you inherit. The washers keep humming, steady and sure, while my world tilts sideways. You're lying. Am I? Check the card again. Janine, that was your real name. Before we fixed things. My fingers close around the card, its edges soft and worn. Who wrote the message? It doesn't matter. She straightens, smoothing her skirt. What matters is that you're going to stop this foolish investigation. The sale will go through, you'll take your settlement, and we'll never speak of this again. Or what? The temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. Or I'll remind you just how precarious your position is. No legal identity, no proof of education or employment. I could make you disappear with one phone call. You wouldn't dare. Try me. She turns to leave, then pauses. Oh, and Jade, or should I say Janine? Don't bother calling Louisa again. She's been instructed not to take your calls. The door closes behind her with a final sounding click. I slide down the cabinet to sit on the cold floor, the blueprint falling from my numb fingers. The card feels heavy in my pocket, weighted with secrets. Not just about my name now, but about everything. My whole life, my family, my identity. Mother's threat hangs in the air like the bleach fumes, corrosive and dangerous. But she made one mistake. She assumed I'd be too shocked, too afraid to fight back. She forgot that she raised me to be as ruthless as she is. Louisa's law office smells like old books and coffee that's been on the warmer too long. I wrap my hands around a mug of it, bitter and black, while she pulls files from a hidden safe behind a painting. Your mother called me yesterday, she says, spreading documents across her desk. Tried to have me removed as trustee. Unfortunately for her, that power rests solely with the beneficiary. And who is that exactly? The coffee burns my tongue. Because apparently I'm not who I thought I was. Louisa settles into her chair, afternoon sun catching the dust motes around her like a halo. What do you know about your great-aunt Greta? Not much. She died when I was small. Mother said she was difficult. Difficult meaning she refused to play by your mother's rules. Louisa's smile is sharp. Greta knew exactly what kind of woman your mother was. That's why she structured the trust the way she did. She pushes a yellowed document across the desk. The trust agreement is dated 3 months before Greta's death, the ink still crisp despite its age. Read the inheritance clause, Louisa says quietly. My eyes scan the legal language until I find it. All assets shall pass to the firstborn female heir bearing the family name of Pearson. The coffee turns to acid in my stomach. Pearson? Your mother's maiden name, and your birth name, Janine Pearson. Louisa pulls out another document, this one newer. When they adopted you, they changed it to match Lacey's, but they couldn't change the trust without Greta's permission, and she made sure that would never happen. So all this time, the mill was always meant to be yours, not as Jade Sherman, but as Janine Pearson, Greta's chosen heir. The sun slants lower, turning the dust to falling gold. I think of Mother's bleach-stained hands, her desperate attempts to destroy evidence. They knew, I whisper. They've always known. They tried to challenge it after Greta died, but the trust is ironclad. The only way they could keep control was to make sure you never discovered your real identity. My laugh sounds hollow, even to me. And now they're trying to sell everything before I can prove who I am. Not if we move first. Louisa starts laying out more papers, creating a battle plan in ink and legal jargon. We have the Valentine's card, which proves they knew your original name. We have witnesses who remember you as Janine, teachers, doctors, old mill workers. Sydney, I realize, she's been dropping hints for years. Many people kept quiet out of fear. Your mother can be persuasive, but with proper legal protection, they'll talk now. The coffee is cold in my mug, leaving nothing but bitter residue on my tongue. What about Lacey? The trust is clear, only the firstborn female Pearson inherits. Once we prove that's you, she'll have no claim. She'll lose everything. She'll have whatever your parents managed to set aside. Louisa's voice gentles. I know she's your sister. No. The word comes out hard and final. She's their daughter. I'm something else. You're Greta's heir, the one she chose to protect her legacy. She starts stacking the papers into ordered piles. But we need to move carefully. Your mother will destroy everything she can't control. I know. I trace the trust agreement's faded letterhead. How long? To build an airtight case? A few weeks? To stop the sale? That we can do immediately once I file the initial injunction. The sun is almost gone now, the dust settling back into shadows. I think of Mother's threat in the laundry room, of all the years spent feeling like I didn't quite fit. Do it, I say. File everything. I want them to know exactly what's coming. They'll retaliate. Let them. The coffee's aftertaste lingers, bitter as revenge. I'm not afraid anymore. Louisa begins preparing the paperwork, her pen scratching like a weapon being sharpened. Outside her window, I can see the mill's lights coming on against the dusk. Soon, those lights will shine for me, not as the daughter my parents tried to erase, but as the heir my great-aunt chose. One more thing, Louisa says, not looking up. Once we file, there's no going back. No chance of reconciliation. Are you sure you want this? I think of bleached blueprints, of stolen documents, of a lifetime of careful lies. They made their choice 25 years ago, I say. Now I'm making mine. The boardroom feels like a trap ready to spring. Fresh printed cash sits in neat stacks on the mahogany table, advance payments from the buyers, reeking of that distinct new money chemical smell. Mother's amber perfume fights with it, creating a sickly sweet fog that makes my head spin. What is the meaning of this? She demands, perfectly manicured nails drumming against her leather portfolio. We have contracts to sign. Yes, I say, watching Father settle nervously into his usual chair. We do. Lacey hovers by the door like she might bolt. She's wearing her gallery opening clothes, all black, carefully curated casual. The buyer's representative checks his watch repeatedly. If we could proceed, he suggests, the funds are prepared as requested. About that. I nod to Louisa, who begins distributing documents with precise, measured movements. There's been a change in ownership structure. Mother's fingers stop drumming. What are you talking about? Perhaps we should start with introductions. The trust agreement feels waxy under my thumb as I slide it across the table. My name is Janine Pearson, firstborn female heir to the Pearson Textile Trust, and I'm exercising my right to assume control, effective immediately. The chemical money smell seems to intensify as all the oxygen leaves the room. Father's face goes gray. Lacey makes a small wounded sound. This is absurd, Mother says, but her voice wavers. That trust was dissolved years ago. No, Louisa cuts in, smooth as silk. You merely buried it, along with Janine's original identity. But trusts don't dissolve just because you hide the paperwork. She begins outlining the legal details in calm, devastating precision. The original adoption records, the fraudulent name change, the systematic erasure of my true identity to circumvent Greta's wishes. All assets revert to the rightful heir, Louisa continues. The mill, the properties, the auxiliary businesses. Additionally, all access to company accounts and facilities will be revoked for the former management team, effective immediately. You can't do this. Mother's perfume is failing now, overwhelmed by the sharp tang of fear sweat. We're her parents. No, I say quietly. You're my kidnappers. There's a difference. The buyer's representative stands abruptly. I believe we should postpone. The sale is canceled, Louisa informs him. You'll find your deposit has already been returned. He practically runs for the door. Smart man. Jade, please. Lacey's voice breaks. We're still family. Are we? Did you know? I watch her face crumple. All those years, did you know what they did to me? I was just a child, she sobs. They said it was for the best, that you'd be happier not knowing. Enough! Mother slams her hand on the table, making the money stacks shiver. I won't stand for this ingratitude. Everything we did was to protect this company. From me? I lean forward. Or from Greta's ghost, because she saw right through you, didn't she? That's why she made sure I would inherit no matter what name you forced on me. You have no idea what that woman was like. Actually, I do. I pull out the Valentine's card, watching her face go slack with recognition. She made sure I'd find out eventually. All those little breadcrumbs she left, waiting for me to follow them home. Father hasn't spoken a word, just sits staring at his hands like they belong to someone else. Lacey's mascara runs in black rivers down her cheeks. Security will escort you out, I say, standing. Your personal items will be shipped to you after they've been inventoried for company property. You can't just erase us, Mother hisses, but her eyes are wild now, darting between the documents like she might find an escape clause. Funny. I gather the trust agreement, feeling its weight like armor. That's exactly what you did to me. The difference is I'm doing it legally. They file out, Mother rigid with fury, Father slumped like a puppet with cut strings, Lacey stumbling in her designer heels. The money sits uncounted on the table, already forgotten. Well, Louisa says into the silence, that went about as expected. I touch the Valentine's card in my pocket, its message clear at last. Never forget who you are, not who they made me, but who I was always meant to be. Have the locks changed, I tell her. All of them, tonight. The chemical smell of the cash makes me nauseated now. I'll have it deposited first thing tomorrow, but tonight I have a mill to reclaim. The night shift has gone home, but I keep the machines running. Their rhythm fills the empty mill with familiar music, the whir of spindles, the soft thump of mechanical arms, the steady breath of ventilation systems pushing cotton-scented air through ancient ducts. My hands find a freshly spun bundle of yarn, still warm from processing. The fibers are soft against my calluses, not quite settled into their final form. Like me, this yarn is in transition, raw material becoming something new, something stronger. Sydney left a note on my desk. Congratulations, boss. The real one, this time. Next to it sits the mill's master key, no longer a copy, but the original. The weight of it in my palm feels right, like it was cut for my hand alone. The Valentine's card is locked in the office safe now, protected by a combination only Louisa and I know. Such a small thing to bring down an empire, a child's craft project, and a hidden message waiting all these years to be found. I wonder if Greta knew, when she slipped that note onto the card, how long it would take for the truth to emerge. Mother's amber perfume still lingers in the executive office, but it's already growing fainter. Tomorrow I'll have the cleaning crew do a deep scrub, erasing the last traces of her presence. Lacey's artsy photographs of the mill will come down from the walls, replaced by the technical drawings and production charts that tell the real story of this place. My phone buzzes, another message from father, probably begging for a chance to explain. I delete it unread, just like the others. Their explanations don't matter anymore. 25 years of lies can't be undone with a few desperate texts. The yarn shifts in my hands as I walk the production floor, its texture changing with each twist. Near the loading dock, I find one of Mother's designer scarves, forgotten in the chaos of their exit. The silk is smooth and expensive, everything she valued wrapped up in a single accessory. I drop it in a trash bin without hesitation. They'll try to fight back, of course. Mother's too proud to accept defeat gracefully, but Louisa has already filed injunctions, frozen accounts, changed locks. The evidence of their deception is overwhelming. Years of falsified documents, hidden trusts, careful erasure of my existence. I reach the dye house where it all started to unravel. The bleach stains on the floor are still visible, Mother's last desperate attempt to destroy the proof of who I am. But you can't bleach out the truth forever. It always finds a way to show through. The machines hum on, steady and sure. They don't care who signs their maintenance checks or who holds their ownership papers. They just keep spinning, weaving, creating, like they have for generations before me and will for generations after. I think about Lacey's tears in the boardroom. Father's defeated slump, Mother's mask finally cracking to show the fear beneath. Part of me wants to feel something, grief, maybe, or regret for the family I thought I had. But there's only a calm certainty, like the rhythm of the machines. They made their choices, now they'll live with the consequences. The yarn is cooling in my hands, taking its final form. Soon it will be wound onto spools, shipped to customers, woven into something new. That's the way of textiles, always changing, always becoming. Nothing stays raw forever. I am not the daughter they tried to shape me into. Not Jade Sherman, the replacement child, carefully contained and controlled. I am Janine Pearson, heir to this legacy, chosen by a great aunt who saw clearly what my parents tried to hide. The machines spin on in the darkness, their sound rising through the soles of my work boots. This is what belonging feels like. Not the brittle perfection of Mother's world, but the honest hum of industry, the smell of oil and cotton, the texture of newly made things taking shape. I am not forgiving. I am finished. And in the steady rhythm of the mill at night, I hear my real name echoing. Janine, Janine, Janine. The name they tried to steal, now claimed again. The yarn settles into its final twist, strong and certain in my hands. Like me, it knows what it was always meant to be.